special presentation of TNN Sports. One of the hardest rainstorms in recent memory has hit northern Ohio this weekend. Yesterday, 5 inches of rain fell in the northern part of Toledo, forcing the BF Goodrich tire providers and all of the ASA race teams to take shelter. The water in the infield was several inches deep at times. Kevin Sawinski's turned most of his laps this weekend behind the wheel of a four-wheeler. Today, there are plenty of fans on hand here at Toledo Speedway for the Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing, but things are on hold for the time being.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Steve Burns is alongside. It's been rainy, it's been sunny, it's been rainy, sunny. Now it's raining again for the third or fourth time today. And Steve, we're on hold, unfortunately.
Well, as you said, there's plenty of fans. Unfortunately, they're all holding umbrellas.
Yeah.
Doggone it, we were this close to start this race. They're trying to get the track dried, but is that sun I see peeking out?
It's come and gone several times today. It's misted. We've had hard rain 2 or 3 times today. While we were on the air with race day at 11 o'clock this morning, it was clear for the entire hour. We're hoping to get the Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing in this afternoon. Right now, though, let's head trackside. Our Bob Dillner is down in the pit area. Bob, what's the situation where you're standing?
Well, guys, as you talked about just a couple minutes ago, it was a downpour here. Now the sun's coming out, getting a little bit cloudier now, but you have to laugh. Joe Shear, crew chief for Larry Foyt, just put his hands up in the air and said, why? Why us? Let's either have it rain or the sun come out for good. Now, one thing to keep in mind on today is if they do go green here today, this is a 300-lap race, but all these guys are going to be looking to lap 151, Rick, because you know that's a halfway point, and at halfway, this race will become official.
And, Bob, what are they saying about pit strategy? If we do go green, will they be able to run all the way to the halfway mark?
Yes, they can go all the way on fuel. Tires, a little bit of a question, but these BFG tires are awesome, and the tread wear on these tires are very, very good here. So gas, no problem. Tires, a little bit of a question, but they think they can go to the 151 mark.
Interesting situation here this weekend. Qualifying in the qualifying race, the non-qualifiers race actually rained out here yesterday, so we're lining up according to points. And all 40 cars that are here this weekend are going to take the green flag in the Glass City 300.
Well, Rick, I hope we get started because this is a great little racetrack. Half mile, high bank, my favorite kind of racetrack, and we'll see some great racing if we can just get it dried.
ASA has tons of history here at Toledo Speedway. They haven't run here, though, since 1996. Several drivers in the field have scored victories here. We'll talk more about that as the afternoon unfolds. Let's take a look now at how the top 20 stand. Now, the battle for the 2000 ASA AC-Delco Series Championship, of course, $200,000 to the winner. And Steve, Gary St. Amont's been in the driver's seat, so to speak, for many, many weeks now.
Actually, he won the very first race of the year in Lakeland, Florida, has never fallen out of the top spot. Kevin Sawinski has made a move up to second from fourth. And you know what, Rick, I was doing a little math before we got up here. In that top 10 in point standings, there's 117 career victories. So the cream has risen to the top here at the halfway point of the season.
Sure has. One of the guys we'll watch when we do go green certainly is Scott Hansen, winner last week at Salem. He's won here several times in the past and really looking forward to trying to make 2 straight wins in Don Finetti's Ford Thunderbird when we do get to go racing here a little later on. It is sunny at the moment, but the track is very wet. We're going to take a time out here now. We're going to show you the season opener, the BF Goodrich Tires 200, while we wait out this wet track situation. We'll be back to update you in about 30 minutes. Back live to Toledo Speedway in Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City 300 today for the AC-Delco ASA Stock Car Series. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner is here too. We have blue skies and sunshine prevailing. Field is on the course, trying to dry the racetrack out, setting us up for today's event. Over 1 million turns of the wheel put us halfway through this ASA season. As we reflect back, it's been a season of frustration at times. So much on the line. So many new challenges. For some, this has been a season of realized predictions.
When you get, 12, 15, 20 cars all running the same speed, I think the bumpers are going to come into play a lot more this year.
I don't know what to expect right off, but I do expect to win races. I know that.
Butch Miller gets by at the last lap. They've got to get around Scott Hansen. Ricky Johnson wants to go inside. Bonsai move. He won't get there. Butch Miller wins. It's been a season of predictable outcomes. 4 ex-champions are in the top 5 in points. It's also been a season of surprises. Whose crystal ball would have put rookie Scott Wimmer in victory lane twice already? And whose tea leaves would have handed Mike Eddy 4 DNFs and only 1 top 5 in a season fraught with difficulty? For some, it's been a year of triumph. For all, it has been a season of loss. A season of anticipation. And a season of bone-crunching hits. For the American Speed Association, it's been a wild and woolly ride through the first 10 races. Who knows what the next 10 will bring as we jump from the frying pan into the fire.
Holy Toledo, we're actually about to go racing here in Toledo, Ohio. The rain has subsided, and we knew this was going to be a wild one coming into this. Well, it's going to be even wilder now because we have a green racetrack. Good thing we had that break, though, because Brandon Sperling, he actually had to make a pit stop for himself during that break.
Scott Hansen scored his first win of the year a week ago at Salem. Today he returns to Toledo Speedway, the scene of one of his career's hardest hits. Well, the umbrellas have been put away once again. We are live in Toledo, Ohio at Toledo Speedway for our coverage of the Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing here on TNN Sports for the ASA AC-Delco Series. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner is downstairs on pit road for us. And Steve, a sight I thought we'd never see this weekend. Sun in the sky, blue sky. We're about ready to get going. They've run these cars for almost an hour here to keep heat in the racetrack and dry it as quickly as possible. And we're just a couple of minutes away, evidently, from getting the green flag out.
Never thought it would happen. They had 6 inches of rain here in Toledo yesterday afternoon. This place was a mess. The infield was underwater. It rained most of the day today. But look, we see gray racetrack. That's now my new favorite color.
Yeah, there
gray.
You go. A lot of folks had said there was a window of opportunity to get this race in. We thought they were kidding us, but it looks like it will work out that way. 40 cars set to do battle. Let's meet the top 10 in our Greased Lightning starting grid.
Hi, I'm Gary Santamont, driver of the Wins GM Goodwren's Vortec powered Chevrolet. I'd like to say hi to all my fans back in Columbus and also to Nick and Courtney up in Michigan.
I'm Kevin Sawinski, driver of the number 21 Chevy Monte Carlo of LaFavor Racing Teams. Hopefully everybody has as fun today as we're going to have out on the racetrack.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller, the driver of the number 18 JaniKing Pontiac. I'd like to say hello to my friends at Bank of America and also to Dick Trickle. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, I'm Tim Sauter, driver of the number 9 Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. I'd like to say hi to Chris and Travis and Tyler back home in Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Butch, unintentional pyromaniac Miller. I drive the number 52 Myers Pontiac. I'd like to say hi to Dad and Ruth out in Arizona.
Hi, I'm Mike Garvey, driver of the number 1 LaFavor Racing Teams Tecumseh Chevy Monte Carlo. I'd like to say hi to all our friends and family back in Atlanta.
Hi, I'm Scott Hansen, driver of the number 5 AFCO Racing Products Ford Taurus. Hope you all have a good day today, and I hope we can repeat last week's victory.
Hi, I'm Scott Wimmer, driver of the Bex, Phil Clemens Investments, left-hander chassis Monte Carlo. I'd like to say hi to all my family and friends back in Wisconsin.
Hello, I'm Robbie File, driver for Young Motorsports. Stay tuned for a great waterlogged race.
Hi, I'm Ricky Johnson, driver of the number 22 Nationwide Auction System Vortec powered Chevy Monte Carlo. I want to say hello to Steph, Luke, Jake, and Cassidy, my whole family back in Mooresville, North Carolina.
There's your top 5 rows. There are another 30 contenders lined up ready to do battle today as we continue to keep the cars on the racetrack. Brandon Sperling and Greg Stewart will make up row 6 here this afternoon. Rick Beebe starts at the 7th row with Jack Landis. Steve Burns, everyone wanted to qualify. They wanted to run the 100-lap non-qualifiers race last night. The weather didn't cooperate. Should be pretty interesting. Everybody who's here gets to run. Some drivers with very limited experience at the back of the field today.
Yep, we're lining up according to points. So we've got all those race winners up there. You know, the top 10 of points, Rick, I was counting up 117 career victories in the top 8, actually. So, yeah, a lot of experience at the front, a lot of inexperience further back in the pack, and a high bank half-mile track. Woo, we're going to see some action.
Toledo is a unique racetrack. It's plenty wide. There's a lot of room to go racing from turn 1 all the way around to turn 4, but when you come out of the main straightaway here, the wall turns towards you. The track narrows up quite a bit. Many of the drivers we talked to said they expect a lot of action out of turn 4 and out of the front stretch here today.
Yeah, Scott Hansen, in fact, what was he telling us yesterday, Rick? He said, I've already apologized to 15 drivers because I know I'm going to be in the back of him.
The consensus of opinion yesterday definitely was that you would need to use the bumper to make moves here at Toledo Speedway today. Very high-speed racetrack. We take a look at row 19, row 20. Mike Cope joining the series this weekend in the Mannheim's Florida Auto Auction Chevrolet. Mike Cope, a veteran of the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks, two-time NASCAR All-Pro Series champion. He will not be 40th in the lineup for very long, we feel today. Let's find out more about what's going on down in the garage, down in the pit area, actually, as these teams get ready to go racing, to Bob Dillner.
Well, Rick, the rain delay was a blessing in disguise for one team in particular, Rick Beebe's team. The axle cover on that brand new left-hander chassis on the left rear popped off. The axle came all the way out. During that rain delay, they came into the pit road, put the axle back in, and put that axle cover back on. Tightened it up, so they should be good. But let me tell you, that rain delay was definitely a blessing for that team.
Remember Beebe a couple of weeks ago when we were at Chicago Motor Speedway, lost 3 drive shafts in just a couple of laps, had transmission problems, never did really get to race that car at full speed. So the Jerry Gunderman team has brought out some brand new equipment for the ASA's return here to Toledo Speedway, a track with a tremendous amount of ASA history, but the series has been away from here for the past 3 seasons. This is the first ASA event at Toledo since 1996, and we're looking forward to a great battle here. The track hasn't been repaved in a long time. It's got a lot of bumps and nooks and crannies. In fact, kind of like Salem, Steve, where we were last Saturday night from that standpoint.
Yeah, I like to say a racetrack like this has character. It's got a lot of character, and anytime you have a high banked half mile, you know it's going to be a wild race, Rick. And also add into the fact, you know, we've got a young guy like Scott Wimmer who's got 2 wins, but he's never been on this racetrack.
Yeah.
Robbie Pyle, another rookie, said he's raced 6, 8 races in different kind of cars, including ARCA Division, ARCA Pro 4. So a very mixed bag of results in terms of guys who have and haven't run here.
And of course, since 1996, when the series ran here the last time, there is probably 60% of the teams that are brand new since that time. So you've got a lot of ASA teams that have never been here before as well. Should make for an exciting afternoon. 300 laps, the scheduled distance today for the Glass City 300, presented by JaniKing. We will be back to put this one under green in a moment. Our TNN Sports coverage of the Glass City 300 today is being brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And by Armor All Protectant and Armor All Car Wax. It's not just shine, it's Armor All. Welcome back live to Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City 300 this afternoon for the ASA AC-Delco Series. As you can see, the red flag has come out. The weather still looks good. The teams are having an opportunity now to bring the cars to a halt on the front stretch, wipe them down, check the tires, clean the windshields, top them off with fuel. Steve Burns, a chance to get ready to go racing for 300 laps here this afternoon.
Boy, I never thought we'd see this moment. We've got blue skies, a big sun in the sky. Those guys, they want to go racing more than we do.
They sure do. These teams have been frustrated, as has most everyone who's been here for the last couple of days because of the weather situation. And a big call needs to go out to these teams and to ASA for persevering to keep things ready and to prepare a good plan, I think, to get this show underway here shortly today. Mike Eddy's team down on pit road, down on the main straightaway, getting ready to take a look at their situation in the 88 car, the eWeb21.com machine. Eddy's had a tough season, certainly. He is the Dale Earnhardt of ASA with 7 championships, but we haven't seen the same old Mike Eddy. 19th in points, and last week he was lapped very early after 24 laps at Salem.
That race last week at Salem was probably one of the hardest races I've ran in 25 years. Just because the car wasn't working, and I mean, it was a long day, and it's a lot harder staying out of people's way and keeping from getting run over than it is if you're racing. It's embarrassing. There's nothing else to say. I mean, I run terrible, but it will change. I can guarantee you that.
Boy, Rick, you know, the polar bear, Mike Eddy, he's the Dale Earnhardt of this series. Yep. 7 championships, 57 wins, and maybe this is the week he turns it around. Scott Hansen got it turned around last week at Salem. Mike Eddy, listen to this. 13 starts here. He has 2 wins, 4 top 5s. Rick, he's led 10 different races here for a total of 581 laps.
That's called domination, no doubt about it. And Mike took that, I think, in the right vein when we asked him those questions about how frustrating it was for him last Saturday night at Salem, but it had to be eating him up inside.
Yeah, and a guy like him who is an absolute legend in this series, he said it. He's embarrassed to be running like this. He made no excuses, didn't pull any punches. He just said it was an embarrassment, and they're trying to get the program turned around. But, boy, I'd say momentum's a funny thing. It can work for you or against you, and right now they don't have it.
Their momentum is all backwards, I think it's be safe to say,
right
at the moment. Let's head downstairs, find out a little more. Bob Dillner is down on the main straightaway.
Well, Rick, today Mike Eddy is without crew chief Doug Smokestadt, who had to fly back home today. His wife, Sandy Smokestadt, has a health concern, so he flied home today. It'll be crew chief by committee for the number 88 team, and of course all of our thoughts with the Smokestadt family.
Mike Eddy hoping to get things pointed in the right direction. 19th in points, so he lines up in the 10th row this afternoon alongside Tristan Dupuis at a place that he really does like. He's got, as Steve pointed out, several wins, a lot of laps led here, almost 600 laps led over the years. Show you some of the things that have happened in ASA to this midpoint of the season. Last week at Salem, the 10th of 20 races, 2,750 laps have been run. 79 different drivers have taken part in these events with 7 different winners in 10 races. And, Steve, that speaks to how strong this series is overall in the year 2000.
And, Rick, you compare that to the 1999 season at midpoint. Take a look at that. Average entries, 46 this year compared to 30 last year. And the stat I like the most, lead lap finishers, 34 versus 18. Lap leaders, 31 versus 13. And that also talks about not only the health, how good the competition has been in the year 2000.
We talked a lot at the start of the season and have been talking all year about how much the playing field had leveled in ASA with the advent of the new GM Vortec 5700 engines that everyone has to run. And, of course, the new BF Goodrich Traction TA radial race tires that everyone's on. The radials, of course, new to ASA this year. It's changed things, it's evened things up, and it's made it a lot more interesting, I think, in a lot of ways for us and for many of these teams, and we hope for you at home as well. Season point leader, though, so far is a very familiar face and name. Gary Sademont won the season opener at Lakeland. He hasn't looked back in the first 10 races. He's on the pole here today, standing by with Bob Dillner.
Gary, we're about to go racing, and if you can believe that, we are going racing here. Can you believe that here at Toledo? What is it going to be like for you guys out there with this green racetrack here?
It's going to be pretty tough. Luckily we got us a dry racetrack, and I think that's the number one thing. And I'm sure everybody's going to use their head. And, I'd just like to say, ASA is doing one heck of a job trying to get this race in here.
The call down on the main straightaway. Get those nets up. Let's get them fired up. Sademont is the pole sitter, getting the clipboard off the number 7 car, the GM Goodrich Wins Chevrolet from Lane Automotive, and Gary will roll away. ASA officials giving the word. Let's get going. The track is in shape now. We're ready to race. Bob told us earlier, if you were with us at the top of the broadcast at 3 o'clock Eastern when we came on the air, that the goal was to get to halfway. Of course, in ASA, as in NASCAR, you need to run one lap past halfway to have it be an official race. But the way things are looking, I think we may be good to go for the entire 300 laps. We'll find out in a moment at Toledo. Today's TNN Sports coverage of the Glass City 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Back live at Toledo Speedway in Toledo, Ohio, getting set for the start of the Glass City 300. Flagman Danny Spence on the stand, giving the drivers the indication. Time to wave back to the fans. Packed house here at Toledo. We talked about the great history of ASA here. And this is a town in northern Ohio, not too far from Detroit, about an hour south, that has a tremendous motorsports history. This is the hometown of former USAC Sprint Car champion Raleigh Beal back in the 60s. And Ron Hemmelgarn, who owns one of the top teams in the Indy Racing League, headquarters here in Toledo. Great racing heritage in this town. This track is now owned by ARCA, the ARCA Bondo Marhide Supercar Series, the same folks. And they sanction weekly competition here at Toledo Speedway. The track, as we mentioned, a half-mile high-banked asphalt oval, 18 degrees of banking in the corners, 4 degrees on the straightaways, 40 feet of width, plenty of racing room. And Steve, real interesting. We took a ride around here yesterday. The way it narrows up coming out of turn 4 makes it very, very challenging for these drivers.
Yep, as I said, it's a track with a lot of character, yes, which is a way of saying it's a very unique racetrack. It's not a symmetrical racetrack by any means. You have to negotiate each corner in and of itself. You're talking about the history, Rick. Guys like Joe Ruttman, Rusty Wallace, Scott Hansen, Bob Seneca, Johnny Benson have all won races on this tough little racetrack.
Nearly $195,000 is up for grabs for these 40 drivers today, and we will go 300 laps. Hopefully we'll get them all in under green flag conditions. The weather in this part of the Midwest has been very tough all weekend long. We told you at the top of the broadcast at 3 o'clock when we first gave you an update that there had been 5 inches of rain in this part of northern Ohio yesterday afternoon. A lot of roads were closed. A lot of folks were stranded. Still high water in many parts of Toledo today, but fortunately things are drying out nicely here at the Speedway. Work being done on Gary St. Amant's Wins Chevrolet. They had to jack the car up, check some things under the back end of that car. St. Amant, the series point leader, he'll be the pole sitter here this afternoon, and he brings the car back up onto the Speedway. Looks as though the lights are out on the Pontiac safety car. No, they're still flashing on the back of the car. We can see him go down into turn number 1. The official pace car of the ASA AC-Delco Series once again this year is the Pontiac Grand Prix. We're being told 2 laps before we put this one under green. Steve, if you're a driver and you've been sitting and watching and wondering, you haven't had the normal amount of practice time, you haven't qualified, what's going through your mind right now, do you think?
You know, I was talking to Robbie Pyle and some of the other drivers this morning, and they hate this, Rick, because mentally they get geared. It's like any other athlete. They have a routine. I'm going to race at 1 o'clock. I'll have something to eat, you know, prior to that at a certain time. They have a routine. And, you know, quite frankly, how many times have we sat here today and said, we're not going to race?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been back and
very
forth
much so.
a lot. So it's got to be tough on them. But now that they've tightened the belts, I'm sure all that's out the window and it's business at hand.
St. Amant and Kevin Sawinski will be your lead row. 1 lap till green. The indication from Danny Spence on the flag stand. Mike Miller and Tim Sauter in row 2. Butch Miller and Mike Garvey in the 3rd row. Now remember that St. Amant, Miller, Sauter, Miller, Garvey, and Scott Hansen have all been winners this season. Gary St. Amant, your pole sitter, 8 top 10s in the first 10 races. And his best finish here at Toledo, a 4th in 1996. He's led a couple of races for 169 laps. And Gary has certainly put together some dominant numbers in this season as well. Those his numbers at Toledo Speedway over the years. Glenn Allen, who is one of the Ohio contingent in the field today from Cincinnati, he'll line up 21st in Bud Gibbons' 4 car. We're glad you've waited with us. We're ready to go racing at Toledo Speedway for 300 laps, and we are underway. Gary St. Amant drops back to 3rd after 1 lap here at Toledo. Tim Sauter in the 9. The Build-A-Mold Chevrolet has moved into 2nd spot with St. Amant 3rd. Mike Garvey rides 4th. The top 2 starting to pull away. Scott Wimmer has climbed to 5th already in the Wimmer Racing Chevrolet, the 05.
Rick, interesting thing about Kevin Sawinski, you know, he's been very consistent all season. He's 2nd in the points, but you know, coming in here, he has only led 2 races for 24 laps. That doesn't seem possible.
Sure doesn't. Sawinski came back. He and Butch Miller among the drivers who came from NASCAR back to ASA competition this year saying, hey, we want to go where we can win races. We want to be competitive every week. We want a chance to win the championship. Well, Sawinski is certainly a legitimate title contender, but he has not been the dominant force everyone expected when this season took shape back in the wintertime. There's your 3rd place driver, St. Amant in the 7. A little further back, the 07 of Jack Landis, the 22 of Ricky Johnson. They're battling back for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Scott Hansen is 10th in the 5 car. Last week's winner, the structural transport Ford. The 27 car right there. We take a look at Johnson. And there's the 21 of Sawinski, the black Lefebvre Racing Team's Monte Carlo with Tim Sauter in 2nd. So it's Sawinski out in front up onto the backstretch. Sauter riding 2nd. They've got a couple of seconds to the good over Gary St. Amant and Mike Garvey running 3rd and 4th.
Sawinski has not led a race, this is hard to believe, Rick, since Nashville back in May. First time since Nashville.
Hoping to put all that behind him and get off the 2nd half of the season to a terrific start here today at Toledo Speedway. Greg Stewart in the 33, Jack Landis in the 07 battling for position. Stewart is 6th, Landis is 7th. Scott Hansen up to 8th. Give Landis the spot on the inside in that Ford Taurus. The Noah Yoder Ford. Landis from Indiana, Hansen from Wisconsin, but this is a place that Scott Hansen certainly likes to come to.
Boy, his stats are incredible here too. 3 wins, 3 poles in 8 races, and Rick, he has led, get this, 7 races, 7 different races here, 767 laps. Unbelievable.
This is one of his favorite places to come to, no doubt about it. Hansen told us yesterday afternoon that if the car was right, he would certainly do well here today. And he said, I think this car is right. His 9th start at Toledo here today with 3 poles and 3 wins. 7 races total for that incredible number of laps led that Steve mentioned a moment ago. Nearly 800 laps that Hansen's been at the top of the leaderboard. Right now, though, he is back a ways in the pack, sitting back in the 6th position, patiently working his way up through. Robbie Pyle in the 8 car there, alongside Rick Beebe for 11th. Meantime, Tim Sauter down into 3 on the low side, working on Sawinski. So Sauter, the defending ASA national champion from 1999, starting to make some noise here this afternoon. He's got the low groove. Sawinski unable to get down and close the door on Sauter. And Sauter making a move on him on the backstretch. Already they've started to come up on lap traffic. David Anspaugh directly ahead. Remember, 40 cars, all 40 drivers that came to Toledo get to start here today by virtue of the rained out qualifying rounds yesterday. So Sauter's out in front, first lead change of the day, working by Anspaugh to put him a lap down after just 12 laps of action at Toledo. Sauter's out in front, Sawinski is second, then you see the Anspaugh machine on the racetrack. Seydamad is third, Mike Garvey is fourth. But Tim Sauter starts to pull away here at Toledo as the blue sky continues to prevail. Back live at Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing today here on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Dillner is trackside. We're only 21 laps into this because we missed our scheduled start time by nearly an hour today. But the track is dry, the sun's been shining, and by golly, it's good to be racing with you on a Sunday afternoon right here. Tim Sauter is your leader. Tim failed to qualify here in 1996 for this event, but has been the dominant car. Steve, one driver who has backpedaled quickly was Mike Miller in the 18, the JaniKing Pontiac, lined up 3rd. Miller currently running 10th, but starting to get that car hooked up just a little bit. Bob Dillner on pit road. What's Carl Hyland got to say about the situation there?
Well, I saw him going way back in the field, and I figured, let me run over here and ask Carl. Carl said nothing's wrong. What Mike wanted to do is he wanted to be patient. He figured there's not a lot of rubber on this racetrack, and he figured something crazy could happen in the opening laps. So he figured he'd fade back and just ride for a little while. But that car is fine, and now that they're getting some rubber in the track, you'll watch him come to the front.
Miller running all alone down into turn 3 right now, running in 10th position. Rick Beebe is the next car in front. He and Ricky Johnson are battling for 8th. You see the 22 of Johnson right there. Cars funneling down into turn 1. Greg Stewart, Brandon Sperling in the 40 car battling. They're a little further back. Stewart 12th, Sperling 13th as they run down the back straightaway. Robbie Pyle in the 8 car has backpedaled as well. The white machine there, he is running 14th. Pyle started 9th, so he's lost 5 spots at a place where we expected him to be very strong. From 2 standpoints, I think, Steve. 1, he's raced here before and done well. He was confident about his car this weekend. And 2, he's just been knocking on the door. He looks like a driver who is very much on the verge of winning as we watch Mike Eddy work up through the field.
Well, as we look at the 8 car there of Robbie Pyle, you're exactly right, Rick. And you know, the biggest asset is for Robbie Pyle, he grew up building race cars. He knows every nut and bolt on these cars. And he said early in the season he was just concentrating on making the races, turning laps. Now he's starting to drive more aggressively. And boy, oh, as he gets loose right there.
Sure does.
But he talked about how his confidence now is stronger, and he feels like he can win, and that's a huge factor for any race car driver.
Watching David Stremme in the 27 car now moving around Pyle. Stremme driving the car of Robert Hamke that Bobby Gills steered at Chicago. We're on board now with Joey Clanton and the Steve Dale Pontiac, the 83. Directly in front of Glenn Allen Jr. in the 4. They're running back in 16th and 17th positions. Got a glimpse of Mike Eddy. We talked a lot about Eddy a few moments ago. Eddy is starting to climb through the field. Started 19th there this afternoon. He's up to 14th, and he's gained 5 spots. A little early to say that maybe this is the day he gets on track and gets to victory lane, but certainly that car looks stout here in the early going.
Yeah, there he is on the outside of Brandon Sperling in that red number 40. Sperling's another guy who has been close to a victory. We talked about him at the beginning of the year. He's way up in the points. He's dropped to 11th in points, but, you know, if they can get a little bit of help, they had help last week financially, they could be a factor again. There he is, Brandon, that number 40 car.
Eddie Crookston's Chevrolet that certainly has had a troubled season in many cases. Running back a little further in the field than he would like to right at the moment, being shown in 13th spot. Jack Landis, Dave Sensiba, Joey Clanton all battling there. Landis in the 07 machine is 14th. Sensiba is 15th in the 6 car, but he's about to get that spot away as we jump up on board and take a look back at Glenn Allen Jr. now. Kevin Sawinski in the 21 has come back on Tim Sauter, and Sawinski uses lap traffic to retake the point. So 34 laps into this one give the lead back to Sawinski as they haul down into turn 1. Lap traffic moving high. Larry Foyt goes up the racetrack. John Silverthorne in the red 08 car there. He's in the way right now, and Sawinski says, hey, I'm going outside to try to get by these guys. Dennis Lampman and Silverthorne, a couple of guys who can play on my offensive line, Steve Burns.
That's it, offensive lineman for sure. But, you know, here's a situation, Rick. We're early in this race, just 35 laps in, and these guys are having to negotiate lap traffic. You know, that's a tough situation. As you said, cars that are slower, it gets a driver like Kevin Sawinski or Tim Sauter off of his rhythm and allows the other guys in the back to catch up. So tough situation.
Larry Foyt is doing very well, and this is rookie season in stock cars in the Harris Pontiac from the A.J. Foyt Butch Miller stables. Not doing very well today. 30th and dropping back. Your lead battle out of turn 4. The black 21 of Sawinski, the blue and white 9 of Timmy Sauter. They are 1 and 2. Sauter had taken the lead over, we should say, from Sawinski. He's given it up now twice to Sawinski here this afternoon as they work on Dennis Lampman, the Barricade Flashers Pontiac. That's the white 19 car. And now Sauter back to the inside of Sawinski.
Boy, great battle there between two series champions going side by side. They might do this all afternoon, Rick.
It has been a good one here in the first 40 laps, and what we see, Steve, I think, is that Sawinski is fine down low, but when he has to run up in the second groove, not quick at all. Looks like a caution on the speedway. A couple of cars into the wall on the front stretch. Tim Taylor spins. We take a look back. The 12 of Kenny Phillips, who's a Wakeman, Ohio native, and Mark Dismore in the Monster.com Herzog Chevrolet, the 44. Joe Knott in the 48 car, and Eddie Sharp's Pontiac, or rather Chevrolet, we should say. They have gotten together. The USAMeats.com cameras on board with Knott in the 48 today. Some trouble coming out of turn 4. This is the spot on the racetrack that many drivers told us would be the place to watch. It narrows up as you come off 4. The car wants to go high, of course, on the racetrack there to make speed on the front straightaway, but the wall turns in at that point, and it does get pretty narrow.
And I think Scott Hansen got a little piece of that too, Rick.
Did he?
Yep.
Didn't see that. We saw Dismore turned around against the outside wall and saw Tim Taylor spin to stay out of trouble there. Dismore with pretty heavy damage to the left rear corner of the Monster.com Chevrolet. He'll come around onto pit road to the attention of his crew. There is an inner oval here at Toledo, much like Cedar Rapids, much like Hawkeye Downs, and that quarter-mile racetrack is used as pit road here. Downstairs to Bob Dillner.
Joe Knott's car has some major damage on the right front right now. They're tearing away the body panels, taking a look inside. You can see some of the chassis actually bent on this car. Right now they are telling them to put it down. They need a lot of repairs on this car. As you can see, a lot of right front suspension damage on the 48 car for Joe Knott.
See the smoke rising there too, which could indicate a line of some sort that's pinched or broken. So Knott will be on pit road for a while. Looked as though Joe was unbuckling to climb out. We'll show it to you one more time as they come out off of turn 4. One car spinning, going up the racetrack. That looks like the 12 of Phillips, and Mark Dismore threw his car into a spin to get away, but unfortunately got pinched into the outside wall, and Joe Knott just kind of an innocent bystander there.
Yeah, and Dismore had nowhere to go. There you see the 12 car, and then Tim Taylor in the 28 gets turned around. And I think Scott Hansen, yep, right there, that white car.
Whoa.
That's Scott Hansen right there, right front corner.
Last week's winner at Salem, Hansen and Don Finetti Structural Transport Ford on the binders, turn into the inside to try to get away. Didn't quite escape as the car slowed down. Taylor spun up the track and then back down the racetrack, and Hansen, I'm sure, was saying, no, don't do that. On board with Joe Knott, we'll get a look from his 48 car. You could tell he had locked up the brakes and tried to go high and thread the needle between the 12 and the 44 and didn't quite make it. So we're under caution for the first time this afternoon. 42 laps are complete. Eddie Sharp's crew taking a look at Joe Knott's Chevrolet with severe right front damage. Knott has the helmet off. We'll find out who's ready to go racing again when we come back. Hope you can join us next Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern and Pacific. Plenty more ASA AC-Delco Series stock car action for you from beautiful Jennerstown Speedway, a very fast half mile just north of Pittsburgh. It's the Pennsylvania 300 next week here on TNN Sports. Great racetrack at Jennerstown, a lot of history there as well, and we're looking forward to making our second trip to Jennerstown next weekend, the day after the Brickyard 400, and we'll be, of course, on the air at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific with TNN Race Day from the racetrack. We'll preview the Pennsylvania 300, wrap up all the activity in Indy all week long, and have a lot more for you, too. The World of Outlaws, the IHRA, it'll be a full 60 minutes of action, of course, next Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Let's go downstairs to Bob Dillner.
A lot of damage on the 48 car for Joe Knott. Joe, we were just talking, just a bad day at the office early on here at Toledo.
Yeah, just another bad day at the office. We had a good run going last week at Salem and got collected in an incident which couldn't see or couldn't avoid, and same thing here again today. You know, qualifying got rained out yesterday, and for not having any points, that really hurts us as a team. Eddie Sharp, 10 Kennedy really getting this Sharp racing car going, and we're just biding our time, passing some cars, and actually had a decent car, a little bit tied off, and felt bad for Mark Dismore. I clobbered him. I couldn't see what was coming. You know, it just happened so fast. Spotter didn't have time to say anything, and I got in the back of him and kind of ended our day. But we're going to be back, and that's why we're starting this year, so that we can come back and be a championship contender next year.
A tough break for a team still looking for a sponsor.
So Joe Knott with the helmet off. His afternoon is done. We have 45 laps of 300 complete here at Toledo Speedway. Tim Sauter will be your restart leader. Safety car is in. Spotters calling green, green, green. Second spot to Kevin Sawinski. Gary St. Amant restarting third, but he's got the lap car of Larry Foyt in front of him. Gary will take it low and move by the 14. Foyt not on the pace at all here in the early going this afternoon in the Harris Pontiac. How about Mike Garvey in the one car? Sawinski's teammate. He's powered his way to fourth. And then Scott Hansen is fifth on the restart. Butch Miller, Scott Wimmer, Mike Miller, Rick Beebe, Ricky Johnson, rest of your top 10. There is Hansen in the white number 5. Last week's winner at Salem. Really excited about coming back to Toledo. We're on board the Tecumseh Chevrolet of Mike Garvey, sitting fourth. Garvey was second to Hansen last week, Steve, and you and I both thought that Garvey would have something for Hansen over the last 35 or 40 laps once he got into the clear, but Hansen just schooled it.
Yeah, Scott Hansen with a great win. And, you know, wasn't it amazing, Rick, that Scott had said he was even contemplating retirement before that win. That's how badly they had run. But, boy, a win's good medicine.
Sure is. Hansen had a much brighter outlook on things when we got to the racetrack here yesterday. David Stremme back on the racetrack, down the back straightaway. There's Scott Hansen in the structural transport Ford, car number 5, trying to draw a bead on Mike Garvey in the one car, who's running fourth, and Gary St. Amant in the yellow 7 to win Chevrolet up in third. Top 5, top 6 cars in a line. You got a glimpse of Butch Miller's Meyer Pontiac, the 52, right behind Hansen. Talk about great rivalries of drivers who've done battle over the years. Hansen and Miller, Butch Miller, certainly two of the guys that fall into that category. They have had some terrific battles in the glory days of the American Speed Association and on the short tracks all over the Midwest and in the NASCAR Craftsman trucks.
Rick, Butch Miller has a win on this racetrack. He's also led 4 different races here, 3 top 5. So, yeah, you're right. Scott Hansen, Butch Miller, veteran short track aces, and they are both in the top 6 right now.
Top 6 or 7 starting to bunch up as lap traffic again becomes a factor. Buddy Gainey in the Bissell Pontiac drops down low to a silver 53 car to let the leaders go around on the outside. That's Carol Adams, Dorothy Lynch, salad dressings Chevrolet down on the low side as well. Leaders going to the high side. Mike Miller backpedaling. He's back in 18th spot with a tire down in the JaniKing Pontiac, the 18 car. Miller slowing way down. Caution is out on the speedway for the second time this afternoon on lap 53. There's your leader, Tim Sauter. Everybody on the brakes as they come down the front stretch to let the safety car come off pit road, come off the quarter-mile short track here at Toledo. So Miller cuts down a left rear tire, and he's going to have to bring the JaniKing Pontiac on a pit road to the attention of Carl Hyland and the crew, and that sets Mike Miller's day back quite a bit here in the early going. Mike starting up in the top 10 comfortably, starting third, in fact, as he is third in season points in the American Speed Association, but he hasn't been on the button much at all today. Dropped back to 10th early. We heard from Bob Dillner that they were expecting that they would just ride for a while and then start moving back up through the field, but Bob, this certainly sets back Miller's bid to get up into contention here.
Big time, Rick. They are going to work on the left side of the car right now. Obviously a left rear flat on the JaniKing Pontiac we just ran down here. Carl Hyland, the crew chief, was shaking his head. They will change this tire. They don't think they have any other damage, so they will get back out there.
Trouble as well for the 83 of Joey Clinton. Clinton went around 2 in the Steve Dale Pontiac, off camera, but Clinton, the driver we expected good things from, he's going to bring that car down on pit road. Looks as though he's cut down a right front tire.
And he's got sheet metal, or I say sheet metal, it's fiberglass, but rubbing on the right front corner.
Back to Bob Dillner.
Yeah, you're right, Steve. They got a bunch of body damage here in the right front part of the car. A lot more damage than what Mike Miller suffered. They're taking some stuff and trying to move that sheet metal away. He will be coming back in, but Joey Clinton, some problems for him.
Miller being scored back in 21st, and the 83 car being scored back in about the same place. We'll show it to you here coming up onto the backstretch. And there you see the contact back in the corner. Clinton goes around up into the wall, and that's where the bodywork damage came from on the 83. So that's the situation, and we'll show it to you from Clinton's onboard camera. Looked like Dave Sensiba tagged him in the left rear.
Oh, he got some help, that's for sure.
So Clinton goes around. Miller, I think, had that happen to him totally away from that bit of action. So we take a look at Joey Clinton.
He says, you're number one.
Absolutely. Telling Dave Sensiba, I'll see you later, pal. We're going to take a quick time out in Toledo. We'll be right back with plenty more. Hey, if you'd like to know more about the American Speed Association, log on to our website, www.country.com, your personal source for all things country. Race cars to country stars. Dial us up at country.com. On board with Mark Dismore, the Monster.com Chevrolet. Pulling back up onto the racetrack after yet another stop on pit road and some service work. Actually, that's Joey Clinton's onboard camera, we should say, looking ahead at Dismore in the 44. Clinton and the Steve Dale Pontiac there, and Steve Burns, they've had to do some extensive work on the right front corner of that machine to get the 83 car back out.
Yeah, that body, the right front quarter panel was rubbing on the tire, and well, that'll end your day in a hurry. So as Bob Dillner told us a little while ago, they had one of the cutting tools out and cut some of the body work away so he could get that tire freed up.
Taking a look from Clinton's rooftop camera there. This is the second turn, working out of the back stretch, or actually coming off turn 4 down to the front stretch at Toledo Speedway. The grandstands here started turn 4 and worked down into turn 1. Getting ready to go green, hopefully next time by. Lights are out. Safety car is in. Tim Sauter will lead the field down the backstretch and into turn 3, and we're looking for a restart with 59 of 300 laps complete here at Toledo Speedway. Sauter and Sawinski 1 and 2. They get a big jump on Gary St. Amant, who runs third, and we're back underway to begin lap number 61. St. Amant sits third, fourth to Mike Garvey, but there are your two leaders. The 9 of Sauter, the 21 of Sawinski. There's the battle for third directly behind. Tim Sauter has looked very strong since taking the lead early on here. Kevin Sawinski's been out front a couple of times, but I think Sauter right now has the better race car.
Much better race car. You know, you're talking about Gary St. Amant. We see him there in the yellow 7 car. He's led the points from the very first race of the year. One of the most incredible stats about him coming into this race, we had 2,750
trouble down the backstretch. Mike Cope, Steve Burns, into the wall hard. We were just getting ready to talk about Mike Cope and how impressive he'd been here in the early going. The former NASCAR All-Pro Series champion, Craftsman Truck Series star. Cope got into the inside retaining wall, back under caution in the Florida Auto Auctions Chevrolet, the 3 car. It's a brand new team for Mike Cope. We expected to see him last week in Salem or even in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. They've had problems. It is so wet on the grass down there. Mike may need the help of a wrecker to get his race car back underway. It looks as though he's got a tire donut, a black circle there on the passenger side door of the 3. Cope will knock it into reverse and try to find some drier ground he can get launched from and get back up onto the racetrack. I'm sure he knows the car is very drivable, but they are going to need to put the front end bodywork back together.
You know, Mike started this season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, driving the Impact Motorsports number 86 truck. Things didn't work out with the owner there. Mike decided to make a move, and we kept hearing rumors that he might come race here in ASA, and this is his first race of the year.
Truck team owner Billy Ballou is involved in this team as well. Cope was really on the move. He's inside Scott Frazier. We were just getting ready to talk to you about how strong those two cars were. John Silverthorne, it looked like, clipped Cope in the left rear corner as they were coming up onto the backstretch. Cope had gotten around the 08 of Silverthorne, but John might have gone a little too high there as they came up onto the straightaway. Take a look from turn 3 back now, and there you see the contact between the 08 and the 3. Mike gets turned around, nose first into the inside block wall. The Florida Auto Auction Chevrolet suffering some pretty stout front end damage. Cope able to get it refired and come back up onto the racetrack, and he's going to have to come to pit road, get some service work. He had come from 40th to 19th, Steve, and Scott Frazier, who was so strong at Chicago, he too started 37th. He was back up to 17th spot. So those two drivers were knifing through the field when Cope ran into trouble. His crew ready to put some attention to the 3 car. Hopefully he'll be able to restart. Mike Miller with service work done on pit road. He may be a contender. Today's TNN Sports coverage of the Glass City 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Third caution of the afternoon at Toledo Speedway, the Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing. This one for Mike Cope, the former NASCAR All-Pro Series champion. Bob Dillner is down with the 3 team.
Well, the crew is taking a look at the car right now, but they have no plans of getting back out on the track here at Toledo. Mike, I saw you approach the ASA official and you were pointing to that 08 car out there.
Well, it's a 36 car. You know, some lap cars that just, you know, they don't know how to give and take. With single file restarts, you know, we're trying to come from 40th. ASA is a great sanctioning body. Does us a heck of a favor putting us in the field. We knew this could happen. It did. It bit us. Just how it works some days, you know. We'll be back, hopefully back Jennerstown, and we'll run this deal in 2001, run for a championship with Mannheim Auction. It's a good deal.
Tell me exactly what happened out there.
Just lap cars. I mean, that when they start them single file, it's hard to get in between cars, and you got lead lap cars racing just to try and stay there, you know, to get up in the top 15. But not be in jeopardy to go a lap down. And the lap cars race you just as hard as the leaders do, so.
Mike Cope done for the afternoon. Unfortunately, we were enjoying watching him bring that 3-car up the field. He had started 40th, as he mentioned. He was up to 19th when he got knocked out of the race a moment ago. Your leader is Tim Sauter in car number 9, the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. Kevin Sawinski rides second. Gary St. Amant is third. You're on board with the 4th place runner. That's Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Sawinski's teammate. Got to look ahead at Gary St. Amant's Chevrolet going up the back straightaway. Garvey very strong, couple of wins under his belt this year. A driver who may well be a title contender. Second last week at Salem after a couple of bouts of adversity. Steve Burns, he spun at least twice last Saturday night in that one car.
Yeah, and that shows what a great race car driver he is, Rick, because, you know, when a guy gets spun out like that, he could lose his temper, definitely lose his momentum. Mike Garvey kept his poise, knew he had a good race car, and just kept driving it for all it was worth.
Take a look at the running order there as we watch Scott Hansen, who is in 5th in the white number 5, on board again with Garvey. Look who's creeped up into the top 10. If we look back a little ways, we'll find the eweb21.com Iton Chevrolet of Mike Eddy, who started 19th today at a track where he has been very successful. Your top 6 or 7 cars, Scott Wimmer is 7th. There's your 8th place machine of Ricky Johnson. Larry Foyt is a lap down. There is Eddy in the 88 car, shown in 8th now. He's gotten by Rick Beebe. He's gotten by Joey Clanton. Clanton dropping back a couple of spots. And he now needs to swing around and get by Larry Foyt, who's a lapped machine in the 14 car. You're on board Joey Clanton. Clanton behind Eddy now. Eddy to the high side off of 2. Wants to get a jump on Foyt.
And Rick, might we see a comeback like Scott Hansen had last week for Mike Eddy?
Certainly could. If there's a place where it might happen, it could be here, because Mike Eddy has scored a couple of victories at Toledo Speedway over the years. Moves by the 14 car of Foyt. And he's got to get up on Scott Wimmer next if he's going to make a move. Alec Pinsino is a lapped car in the way. 14th start of his illustrious career here at the Speedway. Couple of wins. Now Clanton to the inside of Eddy. So Joey Clanton says, hey, you're not getting away without a fight there, bub. 4 top 5s for Mike Eddy in his traditional number 88 livery over the years.
I bet Clanton didn't say that out loud.
I don't think so.
Mike, hey, Kenny Wallace told me when he was running ASA as a rookie, he said, you know, I was intimidated of Mike Eddy. I didn't know what to think of him, you know. And he said, he got into the back of me and wrecked me. I was running 3rd one day in a race. He goes, next week I saw him. I just waved at him. He said, I never had another problem with him. He just wanted to see how I take it.
Well, Eddy certainly knows how to give and take some punishment. Now, the 83 of Clanton is not on the lead lap as we get a scoring update for you. Clanton is being shown back 2 laps down, being scored back in 27th spot. He is on fresh tires, recall. After that spin and the contact, he's been on pit road a couple of times. Spin up in turn 2. David Anspaugh on the 37 spins, and Alec Pinsino clips him with the 93 car. Pinsino's first start in many weeks. He's the teammate and the car owner for the leader, Tim Sauter. Pinsino with damage on the right front corner of his Build-A-Mold Mold Plus Chevrolet out of Canada, out of Windsor, Ontario. So David Anspaugh, the teacher, the Race Picks First Aid 37, the Pontiac, gets clipped in the front end, apparently the back end as well, and we are back under caution on lap 78 today. And Anspaugh had spun all by himself up there, but Alec apparently didn't have room to get by him or didn't get on the brakes quickly enough and did clip the front end of the 37.
Dave Anspaugh is one of my favorite characters in this series, Rick. As you said, he's the superintendent of schools in Waldron County up in Michigan. You know, it's usually just he, his brother, and his wife towing the race car down here, working on it. He hasn't started as many races this year as he'd like to. He's just over 50 years old, and he said he just loves it, does this because he has an intense love of racing.
ASA, of course, a series for touring professionals as well as for drivers who you might call semi-pros, I guess would be the way to put it. Drivers who are certainly very serious about their stock car racing. We'll show it to you again. This is down between turns 1 and 2. Anspaugh dropped a wheel, it looked like, inside the white line and perhaps onto the grass, which certainly, considering how wet it is here, would be enough to throw you up the racetrack. And there you see the 93 of Alec Pinsino trying to go low, but there were other cars near him. May not have felt as though he could get underneath the 37 car safely, but unfortunately clipped Anspaugh in the front bumper.
Well, it's a hard place in the track to get the car turned left to avoid anyways. He could have spun himself out.
So the safety crew is out to take a look at Anspaugh's machine and get that car off the racetrack. Anspaugh stays in the machine for now, but it is not as yet refired. Steve told you a little bit about David Anspaugh, the fact that he is a school superintendent in upstate Michigan. Waldron is the name of the town. College football star in years past. We'll show you a little bit of David Anspaugh's life story as we have some time during this caution period here on TNN Sports. Dave with a lot of racing experience over the years. He's a superintendent, as Steve mentioned, in Waldron County, the middle school up there up in Michigan. Raced at Nashville and really made every race 1 year ago. And he thanks the students of the school district where he is the superintendent. The names of all the students on the back deck lid of the 37.
Yeah, and he's also been a coach. He coaches girls volleyball. He coaches softball. He does everything up there in Waldron County. Saw that picture of him in his football uniform. He played at Olivet College, and he's a slim guy now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in great shape. He's lost 35 pounds since he played college football.
I need to get his secret. I've gained weight since I played.
Yeah, man.
David Anspaugh, one of the great guys in the American Speed Association. Service work going on Alec Pinsino's machine as we are under caution at Toledo. Big Sunday of motorsports coming your way next week. Sunday night, August the 6th on TNN, the premiere of the IHRA Summit Drag Racing Series. The drag racing superstars from Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock, plus the Wild Pro Mods, and the 230-mile-an-hour Nitro Harleys. IHRA Summit Drag Racing every Sunday night starting next week at 10:30 Eastern and Pacific. It all starts August the 6th on TNN. The season opener from Darlington Dragway in South Carolina next week on TNN Sports. Great series. So talk about some characters. The IHRA certainly has plenty of them. The Nitro Harleys are unbelievable to watch. 230 miles an hour on two wheels.
Not me, Junior. No, sir.
That's why you and I are sitting up here, right?
That's why we're talking about it.
Absolutely. Speedy dry going down on the racetrack. A little moisture up there between turns 1 and 2 where David Anspaugh spun. He went down on the grass and perhaps threw a little mud up there. As we jump on board, Mike Garvey just cruising at the moment, sitting fourth, getting ready for a restart. Welcome back live to Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio. The Glass City 300 today on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin. Steve Burns is alongside. Bob Dillner down on pit road. And Scott Hansen setting sail in Don Panetti's Ford, the white 5 car on the outside of Gary St. Amant. They rub fenders up onto the backstretch for third spot. And Hansen will take the position away, going around the series point leader. St. Amant drops back to fourth. Hansen now up to third. Here comes Joey Clanton on the outside of the 83 with fresher tires than most of these drivers. Clanton is a couple of laps down, though, in that machine. Wants to get one of them back here if he can before the 100-lap mark. Watching Mike Garvey in car number 1 back in 5th now. Hansen has come from 5th to 3rd on that restart. As we go on the Tecumseh Chevrolet.
You know, Rick, I started to say before the last caution came out, Gary St. Amant there, just saw him in the yellow 7 car, the points leader. The most impressive statistic to me is we had run 2,700 laps, 2,750 to be exact, coming in here. Gary had completed all but 6 laps. I mean, he's completed more laps than anybody else. 98% of the laps. That's how you win a championship.
To finish first, as they say, first you have to finish, and St. Amant certainly has that technique down pat, the 1998 national champion. As we watch Scott Hansen starting to roll toward the lead, working on Kevin Sawinski for 2nd spot. He's won 25 ASA events now, and 100 more at least in other stock cars, but until last week, this year had been very frustrating. He led 1 lap of competition this year before the Salem event. That was under caution. We told you a week ago Scott was reevaluating his career, yet offers to do other things. Is retirement still an option, Scott?
I don't know if I'm ready yet, but I tell you, if I wasn't competitive a couple more races at Salem and Toledo, I'd have been ready, you know, and I don't ever like to quit on anything. I'm not saying I would have quit in the middle of the year, but we would have made a change, and I would have really looked serious into those other avenues and maybe just went to a couple of them just to see if that's what I wanted to do.
Hansen with opportunities, he's told us, to perhaps be a team manager in NASCAR competition on one of the 3 major levels there. Take a look at Scott's career record. 25th win of his ASA career and not quite 200 starts, Steve. That's an impressive batting average of more than 1 win in every 10 tries as we close in on 100 laps down. Hansen now to 2nd spot, and Mike Garvey, who'd been running up at 4th, is on pit road in the 1 car. On pit road and off quickly. Hansen has dispatched Sawinski back to 3rd, St. Amant in 4th, Joey Clanton next in line, but he is not on the lead lap. Clanton trying to get to the front, get one of his laps back, as Mike Garvey has got some problems in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. We'll try to find out what's going on. The hood is up in that machine. Bob Dillner is there. Bob, what's the situation? Looks like wiring problems, perhaps.
Some big-time wiring problems. Crew Chief Bon Suss is working on the engine right now. The throttle cable broke loose. They're going to have to go underneath there and replace the throttle cable. So big problems for Mike Garvey here at Toledo.
This is under green, and Garvey unofficially has lost 3 laps already. So that takes him out of contention here this afternoon at Toledo Speedway. Down into turn 3, watching Gary St. Amant and Joey Clanton in the 7 and the 83. Coming up to the 100 lap mark, St. Amant at the moment shown in 4th spot and pulling away from Clanton, who has wiggled a couple of times up between turns 1 and 2 as he works down the backstretch. Show it to you one more time here. He had a big wiggle just a moment ago. Here he is outside St. Amant trying to pick Gary off, working on getting a lap back, but up in 3 and 4, Steve just about caught the concrete there.
Yeah, let's not forget, he spun out several laps ago, hit the wall. You have to wonder if some of the suspension parts have been damaged, you know, because, boy, he is just wobbling all over the racetrack. And Joey's had a great rookie season, but not today.
Know that Gary St. Amant and some of the other series veterans have talked to him about being conservative, going slow to go faster at times. Joey's on the gas very hard much of the time, but a little patience might help him as he moves through his first year in ASA.
You know, Joey still feels badly at Nashville earlier this season. He got into the side of Mike Garvey trying to go for the lead and wound up putting Garvey in the wall. And, you know, that was the case, Rick, where he needed some patience. He had a fast race car. And so, yeah, the veterans are working with Clanton. They say, hey, we know you're good. We know you're fast. Take your time.
On board with Clanton. Steve Dale Pontiac working up behind Gary St. Amant once again. Now St. Amant has closed in on Kevin Sawinski for 3rd. Look back a little ways. There's the 4 of Glenn Allen Jr. He has moved to 6th now. Glenn Allen has done a great job in Bud Gibbons' other car, the Goodwrench Pontiac, in the last 2 starts, the last 2 races he's run. He's gotten by Butch Miller here for 6th. Butch in the Meyer Pontiac there, and Mike Eddy should be ahead of that pairing. Eddie in the 88 right behind Joey Clanton. Eddie has moved to 5th. Now Eddie started 19th. We talked a lot about Mike at the top of the broadcast, how successful he's been here at Toledo, how difficult a season he's had in his first full-time year back in ASA. Ran a few races last year and was very strong. This year, brand new car. And Steve, we talked about it in the combination. He and crew chief Doug Smokestad. Perhaps communication an issue there. The other thing that we raised last week, perhaps Mike's taking a little time to settle in on radial tires after 25 years of racing on bias ply tires.
You know, Mike Eddy told Bob he didn't think it was the radials. He didn't think that was a problem, but you know, my gosh, you look at Winston Cup racing, it took Dale Earnhardt, one of the best racers of all time, a while to get used to the radial tires. And let's face it, you know, the crew chief situation, Bob mentioned that Doug Smokestad had left to be with his wife who has a health concern. Larry McReynolds and Dale Earnhardt didn't get along. You know, it's nobody's fault, but maybe the chemistry isn't right.
Hey, and sometimes you just don't speak the same language about the race car, and sometimes things have to change to get better. Well, Mike Eddy assured us, if you heard his comments early in the broadcast, that he guaranteed things would get better. They're a lot better this weekend. Last week, lapped at Salem after 24 trips around the high banks. This isn't much different a place. Old asphalt, a high-banked half-mile, and he's come from 19th to 5th. We watch Mike Cope in the infield watching things. We understand David Bonnet, the driver of the Dunlop Golf 75 car, the Caton Motorsports Chevrolet, isn't feeling well. It is warm, but worse than that, it's very humid here in Toledo. With all the rain we've had, very high humidity, around 88% relative humidity, in fact, today. David not feeling well in the race car, so when the next opportunity comes along, it looks as though David Bonnet will come pit side, and give up the seat in the 75 car. David running 20th right now, being shown a lap down to the leaders as we watch Gary St. Amand right behind the black 21, the Lefebvre Motorsports car of Kevin Sawinski. Sawinski third, St. Amand is fourth. Kevin has led several laps here today, but at the moment settling into third. St. Amand would love to get by him and take a run perhaps at the two lead cars. Hasn't been able to do that. We see the 55 of Greg Williams directly in front, the white Chevrolet of Williams. And there's your leader, Tim Sauter, in car number 9. 112 laps on the board of 300 today at Toledo Speedway. The clouds have returned, but at least for now it doesn't appear as though rain is imminent. We're hoping to be able to run this one to conclusion at Toledo. We are back live at the Glass City 300, the ASA AC-Delco Series in Toledo, Ohio for the first time in 4 years. Here live today on TNN Sports. Your race leader is Tim Sauter and Alec Pinsonneau's Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. He is putting the wood to it right at the moment. Dennis Lampman of the 19 car next in the running order, but he is a couple of laps down. Lampman being shown back in 20th position. There's your second place car, Scott Hansen from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Last week's winner at Salem and Don Finetti Structural Transport Ford. Hansen doing a great job in second, but hasn't been able to reel in Sauter yet. But he gained a couple of laps down. Your third place car, Kevin Sawinski in the Lefebvre Chevrolet, the 21. And Gary St. Amand right there on his back bumper in the Wins Chevrolet. There's Mike Eddy in the 88 car, the Chuck Eiton machine, the eWeb21.com car. He is up to 5th position. Eddie started 19th today, and he is rolling. On board with Joey Clanton, who is next in line, but Clanton back deep in the field. 23rd for Clanton, a couple of laps down, trying to get back one lap and may make it only a one-lap deficit. Tim Taylor not on the lead lap either in the EMAS Ambulance System Chevrolet, but we look back a little further. Good run today for Glenn Allen Jr. and Bud Gibbons, number 4, the GM Goodwrench Pontiac. He is 6th. Butch Miller in the Meyer Pontiac rides 7th right now. A little bit further back, we'll see Rick Beebe. Allen to the inside of Taylor's machine. There's Beebe and the AFCO Racing Products Red Line Oil Pontiac, the 23 car, brand new car from Beebe, who's running 8th. And how about Russ Tuttle in car number 16, the Conseco Pontiac, one of the good guys in this series. Russ Tuttle has come, Steve, from 23rd to 9th here, his best run of the year by far.
Deputy Chief of Detectives in Marion County, Indiana. Rick, I told the story early in the season, but Russ Tuttle, fascinating story, did personal security for Dale Earnhardt at the very first race at the Brickyard back in the mid-90s, and it just piqued his interest in racing. He started driving a Legends car, and before you know it, he's in an ASA car and doing a great job.
He had some good runs last season. They've had tough luck this year most of the way, but Russ is on his way to what we hope will be a good run here this afternoon at Toledo. Scott Wimmer in the 05, 2 victories for the rookie contender, sitting 10th. Wimmer's been as high as 5th today, Steve, but I think he may need a pit stop for an adjustment in tires. We're past the 100 lap mark. The leaders have not yet pitted under green. David Stremme in the 27 car doing a nice job right now, but Stremme not up with the leaders at this point. We'll see a guy who is doing a great job pretty shortly. There's David Bonnet still driving the 75, the Meyer Dunlop golf machine. We understand that the Caton Chevrolet will see Mike Cope climb in at the first opportunity. Bodywork flapping on the right front corner. There's Mike Miller in the 18 car running 11th. Mike has dropped way back in the field. He's starting to climb back into contention here in the JaniKing Pontiac after lining up 3rd this afternoon. And in a moment, we should see, I know your new favorite driver, Scott Frazier.
And where's he from, Rick?
He's from Shubenacadie.
Oh, you crushed it.
I studied.
Nailed it.
I studied. There's Greg.
Oh, I'm so impressed.
The 55 of Greg Williams from Hopstead, Indiana, next in line on the racetrack. Trouble down on the front stretch. Big trouble for Dave Sensiba and Greg Stewart. We'll look at it at the front straightaway in just a moment. They have spun hard and clobbered the tires that protect pit roads. Sensiba, who very nearly has won here twice, crashed into the All-Star Racing pit box, it appears, took out a couple of the tractor tires. The ASA crews and officials are right on the scene, as is our Bob Dillner. Sensiba's okay, but the MC Sports Prestige Truck Accessories Pontiac has suffered heavy damage. To Bob Dillner.
Sensiba, as you said, Rick, is A-OK. He's unstrapping from his number 6 MC Sports car right now. The car did hit the pit box down here, hit a whole bunch of tires. Everybody on the crew seems to be A-OK, and that is the most important thing.
Yeah, Rick, I saw there you see up against that pit box. That could have been a very dangerous situation. Sure. I saw the crewmen scatter, and they hit the tire barrier that Bob referred to at the entrance there to the pit road. There you see the tires. That's what they hit first, he and Greg Stewart in the 33.
We've watched this situation at many of the tracks we've been to in ASA last year and this year. Toledo, like the situation in Cedar Rapids, like Anderson Speedway in Indiana a year ago, they have to use the inside oval at these places for pit stalls. And it does put some people in harm's way, no doubt about it. Now here at Toledo, a big tractor tire barrier to try to protect things. But as you can see, those tires can be moved. And Dave Sensiba and Greg Stewart hooked up and went sliding through the infield. Dave's out of the car. He's okay. Let's go back to Bob.
A hard hit, Dave. First of all, you okay?
Yeah, we're all right. Just a little sore, but no need. You know, we're racing back there and trying to stand the lead lap, waiting for a caution. We didn't want to be it, but you know, these guys impatient, tearing up equipment. Just, you know, they got to use their head.
Well, Dave Sensiba talking to Bob Dillner about the situation. Unhappy with the contact with Greg Stewart. We have one look at it for you as the cars come off the corner here. This is off of turn 4 from our speed position on the front stretch. There you see the 6 getting turned around. Stewart to the inside. He spins as well. You couldn't see the finish of that spin, Steve, but they went across the asphalt directly into the tire barrier. And Sensiba, a scary moment because he did take out a couple of those tractor tires and end up in the Rick Beebe pit stall and into the war wagon there. The good news is everyone appears to be okay on pit road at Toledo Speedway. Back live at Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City 300 for the American Speed Association today, live on TNN Sports. 137 laps are on the board, and we are under caution after a scary incident a moment ago. Greg Stewart in his Pontiac and Dave Sensiba in his Pontiac got together coming off the 4th turn, went sliding through the infield, and Sensiba went bouncing into the All-Star Racing Jerry Gunderman pit stall. The 6 car on the hook. It has been removed. There's a lot of water down on the racetrack on the inside short track here at Toledo, the quarter mile that they do occasionally use for street stock competition. Crews are out there now trying to dry up the water, and it looks as though the leaders may take advantage here and come onto pit road, get some tires and fuel. Not quite to halfway, but Steve Burns, these BF Goodrich Traction TA race tires work so well and last so long that no one has really needed to stop for fresh tires. Troubles, though, for Scott Hansen in the Reichert Ford, the Don Finetti machine, the structural transport number 5. Hansen was running second. Maybe ran out of fuel. Getting some help coming around. We hear Scott. He's saying he can't hear anyone on his radio. That was Hansen.
Your radio must be taking a shit.
Hansen talking to the crew, moving down onto pit road. He will stop and try to get the service work completed so that he can get the 5 car back out. But he has lost the lead lap at this point. Hansen being shown now back in 17th. So Hansen will stop. And it looks as though David Bonnet will come onto pit road as well, and he will give way to Mike Cope. It was, in fact, that Hansen had run out of fuel in the 5 car. So Hansen will stop on pit road. He'll get a push, actually, from several crew members of other teams to help him around to his pit stall. And a tough break indeed, Steve. He certainly looked like a driver who had the capability of winning today, but he's a lap down now at least as we continue under caution.
Well, anybody who's led 767 laps at one track has got to be considered a favorite, but that's the kind of year that they've had, Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had so much bad luck, and I guess, you know, in some cases you create your own luck, but boy, that's tough.
Trying to get some fuel in it. They may have to squirt some ether in, which would be very hard to do in these cars because of the closed air box and the fuel injection. Probably not something you could accomplish. They're rolling the car back, seeing what they could do to get the 5 car restarted. Hansen not happy, as you heard on his in-car radio a moment ago. They're going to stop the car up high and take a look, raise the hood to try to get it refired. Bob Dillner on pit road for us. Bob, what do you see down there?
Well, you hit it on the head, Rick. They can't get the car started. They ran out of gas. They're up underneath the hood right now, and they just can't seem to get this number 5 car started. Scott Hansen very frustrated inside this car right now because they had a rocket here at Toledo.
They were running second coming off that win last week at Salem. And the car runs out of fuel just before halfway. They'll go ahead and fill it. They put 1 can of fuel in, and they will work on it and try to get some more. Takes 2 hooks to get Dave Sensiba's Pontiac off the racetrack. Tough break. Sensiba was running well at a place he nearly won a race at a couple of years ago. Back live in Toledo, Ohio, Toledo Speedway, the Glass City 300 for the ASA. Pit stops under caution to Bob Dillner.
A lot of guys on pit road right now. Actually, Russ Tuttle comes back in. Russ just had a great pit stop, changed right side tires. The number 16 Conseco car back on pit road, and right now the crew going to work on the left side. A 4 tire stop. This caution period for Russ Tuttle, running really, really well this race. It's going to put him a little further back in the field.
They put on a new left rear only, and let's not correct, but add to what Bob said. 2 separate stops. You can only take 2 tires under caution under ASA rules here. So Tuttle came in a second time. He came off pit road 7th, Steve Burns, after a great first stop. This will put him deeper in the running order, but obviously he and his new crew chief have decided that the 3rd fresh tire will help him climb back up through. As we take a look at the 00 of Scott Frazier, he's being shown at the head of the class, electing not to come in, Steve.
Rick, let's recap Scott Frazier. Remember, he comes to Chicago, first ASA race ever from Shubenacadie, Canada, sits on the outside of row 1, and he told me if they finished that race in one piece, they were going to come test here in Toledo and then go back to Canada. They skipped the last race in Salem to get prepared, so, maybe he's in good shape.
Shubenacadie is...
it's a motorsports
Indian,
hotspot.
of course, for a long way from here. I think.
It's a long way from anywhere.
Scott Frazier is your leader, has not yet stopped, though, in the 00 Chevrolet. Butch Miller in the 52 car, a driver who means a lot to a lot of us, a legend, a standout in ASA competition for a long time. Won the first of his 3 series championships in 1987. He's raced in Winston Cup, the Busch Series, the Truck Series 2. Butch back home after 4 years away, won his 40th race of his ASA career in Louisville earlier this year.
Miller has raced at stock car racing's highest level. Butch has 2 NASCAR Busch Series wins and 1 in the Truck Series, edging Mike Skinner in this classic finish. Butch also raced in the Winston Cup Series for Travis Carter 10 years ago, but never won.
NASCAR racing generally is not real fun. It's racing and it's as high up as you can get, but this is fun racing. This is where, if you're going to go out and race and have a good time, this is where you need to be.
After spending last season in the broadcast booth, Butch decided to get back behind the wheel. And it didn't take him long to win his first ASA race since 1994.
Miller takes the lead. Butch Miller gets by on the last lap. They've got to get around Scott Hansen. Ricky Johnson wants to go inside. Bonsai move. He won't get there. Butch Miller wins.
Are you kidding me? Butch Miller is having fun on the racetrack again and doesn't miss so-called big-time racing for a second.
There's so much down and very little up in a Winston Cup that I could care less if I ever did that. The money's great. You make a good living while you're doing it, but those guys actually earn, all those big dollar figures you hear, they earn it because they give up their whole life. They give up. I'm surprised they don't all have heart attacks from all the pressure, So, yeah, this is back fun. I love racing, and I want to keep racing for a long time. But you don't want to just have a miserable time doing it. And I think in ASA, I'm really going to enjoy it.
Butch Miller, RBF Goodrich Tires, big name in the making this weekend at Toledo Speedway, making his 8th appearance. He has the win here in May of 1994. 4 times he's led here for 84 laps, but the 3 top 5, Steve, I think says a lot for the kind of race driver Butch Miller is.
Boy, how about that? 40 wins in the ASA Series and 3 championships. What a great racer Butch Miller is. That's stating the obvious, but he is.
And that win at Louisville that we showed and we've all enjoyed so many times here over the last many weeks. One of the greatest short track finishes I've ever seen in 35 years of being around this sport. And Butch certainly showed everyone that he has still got it. There's no doubt about it in the Meyer Stores Pontiac. Now Miller will restart 7th here this afternoon behind Glenn Allen Jr. in the 4 car. Will restart 6th. One of the drivers who got excellent service work on pit road. Let's find out more about what's been taking place down there under this caution. Back to Bob Dillner.
Well, we are down here with Butch Miller's crew chief, Chip Caputo, and you mentioned that Louisville win. He was jumping up, all and down. And Chip, you were with Butch back in the 80s when he won 2 championships. Is he still the same driver as he was then?
He's the same driver, but his demeanor's a lot calmer. He doesn't get as excited as easy.
How about this race here? Doing pretty well so far. Strategy for the rest of the race?
Well, right now I'm not really sure, because right now the car is not handling real well. We loosened it up a little. Let's see what that does.
The 52 car, they're hoping to get it to the front of the field by the end of this race.
Got plenty of time, not quite to halfway. 153 laps are left here, and Miller will restart, as we say, in 7th. Work continues down in the infield. A wrecker is down there moving some of those big tractor tires and some of the smaller tires that protect the pit stalls on the inside of the short track at Toledo. Hey, the Arena Football League playoffs are underway. The 50-yard indoor war taking it to the next level. The AFL playoffs quarterfinals Thursday and Friday night right here on TNN Sports Arena Football. Right here.
Watch out for Albany.
You're a Firebird fan. I know you are.
Lifelong Albany fan.
I saw that Browning Nagel is playing in the Arena Football League this year. Former Jets quarterback.
And college quarterback where?
Louisville, I believe.
Oh, excellent. First you nail Shubenacadie, then you get Browning Nagel.
I've been studying. I've got to work hard to keep up with you, Steve Burns.
That's impressive.
Take a look at what's been happening here. The reason for this caution back quite a while ago now, Greg Stewart and Dave Sensiba tangled on the front stretch, went sliding through the infield. Sensiba drilled those tractor tires that protect the crews who are lined up on the inside of the short track here. The pit stalls on the inside and the outside of the quarter mile here. Sensiba went crashing into the pit stall and the pit box in use by Rick Beebe's team. Everyone's okay, but it's taken the safety crews some time to reposition the tires and get that safety margin back into place. So we'll be yellow here for a few more laps. Bob Dillner down on pit road for us. Bob, Greg Stewart hoping to get back in the race in the 33 car. What's the situation there?
He will not be getting back out in the track, Rick, because some of the tubing here bent and also broken in the back of his car right on the chassis there. The ASA officials will not allow him to get back on the track with that. And we have Greg Stewart here. Greg, tough wreck. Your version of what happened.
Well, the leaders were coming up on us pretty quick, and we were just fighting through lap traffic. And the lap traffic was slowing everybody down quite a bit, and the leaders working around them a little better. And the 6 car held me up for about 10 or 15 laps. And it tends to happen about every race, and I decided I need to nudge him a little bit to try to get under him a little better. I'd get under him a couple of times, and he'd pinch me off, and that's just a on-track rival we have. So I got together with him, and we both spun, and I hit the tires. And I didn't know I hit the tires that hard. The tires is a whole lot better than the cement wall.
A tough break for Greg Stewart. He's been running awful well here in ASA.
He was strong, but done for the afternoon, unfortunately, out of 4 Oaks, North Carolina, in the family-owned Pontiac. So Stewart will load it up. They'll get ready and haul to Jennerstown next week. Stewart, 12th in season points from 4 Oaks, California, and a good contender indeed. And Bob, we talked about Russ Tuttle's situation, how strong they were running. They had to make a second stop on pit road. Bob Dillner telling us that Russ Tuttle had cut down a left rear tire. That was the reason for the second stop by the 16 car. So Tuttle's back on the racetrack. He will restart in 16th spot. He was up as high as 7th after the first of the 2 pit stops during this caution period.
Yeah, tough break for Russ Tuttle. Up into the top 10, as you said, and they had a great pit stop, but boy, a cut left rear tire, so they had to come back in. Tough break for Russ Tuttle. Let's see if he can get back to the front. The Deputy Chief of Detectives. Good. Oh, he's going to be working personal security this week at the Brickyard for Earnhardt and A.J. Foyt.
Safety car still on the track, still under caution, watching Russ Tuttle. And Bob Dillner, that tire pretty severely cut?
Pretty severely, Rick, and it's the second tire that has been cut, running over debris on the track during this race. The crewman actually circling the cut mark right there. Tire went down on Russ Tuttle, and that's what caused it.
That is a tough nut to crack and difficult thing to swallow, as strong as they were. And we were remarking how strong that pit stop was. The 2 tires in fuel. Russ actually gained a couple of spots coming off pit road and has to give them back up again. He came off pit road 7th. He drops back to 16th, getting ready for the restart. We're past halfway. 154 laps are on the board. Still under caution. Still working to reposition the tire wall here at Toledo. We'll be right back. Hey, Wrenchhead.com is your online automotive superstore with millions of replacement parts, performance parts, and accessories as well. Of course, free shipping all the time from Wrenchhead.com with parts online all the time as we are on board here at Toledo Speedway. Joey Clanton, second in line behind Mark Dismore. Both those cars have been involved in incidents, and they are not on the lead lap. Your restart leader will be the 00 of Scott Frazier, Nova Scotia, Canada, making his second career ASA start. Stevie came from 37th spot on the grid today to the lead. Now, they have not yet made a pit stop. Frazier did test here after his strong run at Chicago a couple of weeks ago. Veteran of the Cascar late model series up in Canada. And Frazier has played his cards perfectly here so far.
He's got 44 late model Pro Stock feature wins over the past 5 years. And boy, you know, you're talking about Shubenacadie up there in Canada. It was 26 hours to get to Chicago. A long haul. That's a lot of want to.
Want to FedEx your car and yourself to a racetrack when that sort of thing is going on. Bob Dillner, interesting pit strategy for Frazier and his team. What are they trying to get done down there?
Oh, very interesting pit strategy. And you alluded to that test that they did here at Toledo a couple of weeks ago. They learned a lot in that test. And the crew down here, they're telling me they may not pit before the end of this race because they feel track position very, very crucial. Stopped once already, so we'll have to see what happens with that 00 car as we get into later in part of this race.
Well, Frazier will be the restart leader ahead of Tim Sauter when we get ready to go green. Lights are out on the safety car. The wreckers have retreated from the tire walls down on the inside of this racetrack down the front straightaway. So we should be ready to get started here once again. It'll be Frazier in the 00. He is 5th in line. The 4 cars in front of him, the 44, the 83, the 27, and the 14, all laps down. There's your leader, Frazier. Then the 75 with Mike Cope driving. Tim Sauter in the 9 is 2nd. Now the lap cars holding things up. Cope drops to the inside, Dismore to the inside. So Sauter has drawn right up on the back deck lid of Frazier, who's your restart leader, with 140 trips to go here at Toledo Speedway. Frazier in the 00 out of turn 2, wiggles a little bit. Going to the inside of the 44 of Dismore to put him another lap down. But Sauter, who has led a couple of different times here today, right with him in 2nd spot. Up into turn 2, Gary St. Amant right there as well. He is 3rd. The National Series point leader and the 1998 National ASA champion. Wants to retake that crown from Sauter. We've had 3 different leaders this afternoon. Frazier, Sauter, and Kevin Sawinski. Where's Sawinski, you ask? Well, he's not on the leaderboard at the moment. He's 4th, but not up with that group of cars.
You know, Sauter's led over 120 laps already as he draws a bead there on the 00. How'd you like to be Scott Frazier? It's your 2nd career ASA start, and you got Tim Sauter bearing down on you.
And St. Amant, who was the point leader and the former champion as well. And here's Sauter to the inside, wants the lead. He's gotten it back from Frazier. So put Sauter at the head of the class once again. St. Amant powers to 2nd. Gary St. Amant may have something here for Tim Sauter as we work toward the 100 to go mark.
If I'm Frazier in the 00, and this is my 2nd career start, we got a caution up there, JC baiting the wall. But if I'm Frazier, I'll get in there and ride behind St. Amant.
Sure.
Watch the line. Go to school on him.
Absolutely. JC Beatty from Baltimore, Maryland, the ATI Performance Products Chevrolet, goes around to bring out our 6th caution of the afternoon here at Toledo Speedway. So Beatty will get the car pointed in the right direction. Safety car is back up on the racetrack. I was going to say, but I didn't want to jinx anyone at the top of the broadcast, we were anticipating perhaps a rocky start to this one at Toledo. The series hasn't been here for several seasons. All the rain washing rubber off the racetrack. And with 40 cars starting one of the biggest fields of the year, many of them drivers with no experience at all here, frankly, we were expecting a wild first 100 laps. Everybody really minded their business for the first 40 or 50 laps today, but since then we have had plenty of action at Toledo Speedway. Safety car is back out. We're getting the indication that the leaders may stop once again here just to make sure they can go the rest of the way on fuel and tires. Tim Sauter to the inside has pulled up alongside the Pontiac Grand Prix pace car. It looks as though the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet is going to lead him down onto pit road, and they certainly are coming. St. Amant, Frazier will stop again. Sawinski and Eddy, your top 5. Glenn Allen comes to pit road, as does Butch Miller, your top 7. Brandon Sperling, who's 8th, also onto pit road. To Bob Dillner.
Gary St. Amant pulls his wins Monte Carlo onto pit road right now. They are changing left side tires. In fact, most teams down here changing left sides right now because the previous caution, they changed right side. Gary St. Amant, he thinks this is his last pit stop, but Tim Sauter, he may stop once more.
Wow, I wouldn't think Sauter would want to give up the track position because St. Amant just beat him off of pit road to retake the lead. St. Amant to take the lead, actually, for the first time today. So give the ASA national point leader, Gary St. Amant, the point as we get set for the restart. The order as they come off pit road, Kevin Sawinski will jump a spot to 3rd. Mike Eddy to 4th. Butch Miller to 5th. Glenn Allen stays 6th. Scott Frazier did not get a good pit stop. He will go back 9th in the running order on the racetrack. We're going to squeeze in another timeout here at Toledo. Right back with plenty more ASA action. We've been under caution because of this incident. J.C. Beatty and Mike Garvey are on board with Garvey, and it looked as though he got into the back end of Beatty's 09 Chevrolet and turned him around. Green flag, lap 168 on the board, 132 to go. The 11 of Tristan Dupuis, your race leader. He did not pit on that last sequence of caution flag laps. So Dupuis stays out, gobbles up the track position and the lead. And Jack Landis in the Noah Yoder Ford does the same thing. He is second. Russ Tuttle did not come in with the other leaders. He had pitted just about 20 laps ago. Tuttle is third now, so he takes advantage in a big way. He's been strong all day, and you've got to think, Steve, that Tuttle may be in position here with 3 fresh tires to lead his first laps of the season shortly.
Great point, Rick, and let's talk about that just a minute to sort this out. The leaders all pitted on lap 142. They came in again on lap 165. The first time they changed left side tires. This past time they changed right side tires. So they essentially made a 4-tire stop because it was just 20 laps apart. But you're right, Russ Tuttle there in the green 16, he didn't pit the second time, and he had to change that right rear when it got cut. So maybe a great break for Russ.
If you were with us a few moments ago, that was a long caution for the Dave Sensiba Greg Stewart incident on the front stretch. Tuttle had changed 3 tires because he cut down his left rear and did it very quickly, and he was 16th in the running order as we were expecting. He started trouble. Jack Landis gets into Tristan Dupuis. Dupuis around and into the wall hard. That will bring out our 7th caution of the afternoon. Dupuis slipped up high. Landis stuck the nose of the 07 car down inside into 1. They get together. Dupuis spins and belts the wall up between turns 1 and 2. And Russ Tuttle's crew happy because they think they are going to be the restart leaders, or at least second as they get ready to restart here at Toledo. Dupuis got to be frustrated. The Freshetta Pizza, 80s Ice Cream Pontiac. Dupuis got troubles. The rear end car, the car machine, the machine refired. Dupuis can't get it rolling, so there is trouble, and we'll have to send a wrecker up there. Let's find out what's going on in Russ Tuttle's pit. Down to Bob Dillner.
We're down here with Steve Strasburg, the new crew chief for Russ Tuttle, and indirectly, that bad tire deal there actually helped you with track position. You going to go all the way now?
Yes, we are going to go all the way. I feel we're getting about 14 laps per gallon, and that sends about 200 laps. So we're good to go the rest of the way. And by chance, we had a left rear tire flat. We noticed after we changed the right, so we got 3 good tires. You never wear out the left front, so we're good to go.
Some of the teams actually concerned a little bit about the right side tires. You're not concerned at all?
No, we only ran about 100 green flag laps in that 150 lap stretch, and with all the yellows today, I think we'll be fine.
Interesting strategy here down in Tuttle's pit.
Russ Tuttle from Indianapolis, Indiana, in the 16. The Conseco Pontiac is on the restart point. The 07 of Landis losing some spots as well. We'll show it to you again. Down into 1. There's Tuttle in the green car. Dupuis in the 11. Landis in the 07. Steve, it looked like Landis had the spot on the inside. He was up alongside Dupuis' door, and I think Tristan turned into him.
Yeah, but my question is why? Why did that happen? I mean, it's still, you got 136 laps to run. I watched Landis in the 07. He goes to the bottom of Dupuis.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I think he might have tried, at least from that angle, looked as though he tried to put the car in a hole that didn't have enough room.
What? But yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do that. It's, you know, we've seen guys be impatient today. Didn't have to happen.
No.
Didn't
in
have
road
to
racing, they call that the red mist. You can smell the lead, and you get a little bit overcome. Tristan out of the race car up in turn 2, and you know he's frustrated, looking for a good run today. Last year had opportunities to win. This year, the competition level much tougher than it was in 1999, and Tristan has struggled in that car at times, and he's had, frankly, bad luck at times, too, and certainly that was the case in just that incident a moment ago here at Toledo Speedway, trying to get the car out of gear so they can haul it off the racetrack. They'll do it from the back end now. Tristan still with the horse collar on, directing the safety crew, trying to turn the steering wheel. I think the front end has some broken parts and pieces. Looks as though they may have to go 2 wreckers to get the 11 car off the racetrack as well. 175 laps are on the board, 125 to go here at Toledo Speedway. Mark Dismore on pit road briefly, Larry Foyt on pit road briefly. They are both a couple of laps down and not in contention. Tristan put a good gouge in that outside concrete wall, and the Freshetta 80s machine will go out on the hook. There's the 00 Scott Frazier. They were trying to short stop and go a long way and go to the checkered flag, but they did take advantage, we're told, of this caution period to bring the 00, the Chevrolet, onto pit road for some tires and some fuel. So now we know that Frazier ought to be in good shape. And Steve, he'll restart back in 14th or 15th spot, so he doesn't have a lot of track position to overcome here. He didn't lose a lot of ground on that exchange.
No, and he's got a fast race car, so he needs to take his time. We don't need to see these guys being impatient. Got a good race car, take it easy, get to the front.
Skies turning overcast again here at Toledo. If you've been with us all day, you know it's been a wet weekend so far, but hopefully the rains will stay away for the Glass City 300. Back live at Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio. The ASA AC-Delco Series live on TNN Sports. The Glass City 300 presented by JaniKing today. There is your leader, Russ Tuttle from Indianapolis in the Conseco Pontiac. Tuttle has worked the pit strategy marvelously. He's had a fast race car all day. Scored great track position after that caution for Tristan Dupuy's spin into the wall. And Russ is out in front and pulling away. Now Tim Sauter is second. Sauter's led a lot of laps, I believe over 100 so far here today. Sauter's got clean racetrack in front of him. Steve Burns, I think we're about to find out just how good a race driver and how good a race car Russ Tuttle has.
Well, that's right, because he's got clean racetrack in front of him. He's got room to maneuver. You know, these are the first laps that Russ has led in the 2000 season. He led one race for 9 laps last year, his rookie season. So, yeah, we'll see what he's got right now. This might be just the perfect break for Russ Tuttle.
You can see it is still bright here at Toledo. There is still plenty of light on the racetrack, and the track, of course, has lights, but there is a big black cloud rolling in over turn 2.
Don't say it, Rick.
We were rain delayed by almost an hour here today. Yesterday, an almost complete washout, no qualifying, no 100-lap non-qualifiers event. These really the first laps run in anger by any of these teams this weekend. We heard from Bob Dillner a few moments ago during that last commercial break that Tuttle's crew is starting to do a rain dance, hoping that this one might end a little early and give their driver an upset victory here today. But I think they're going to have a great afternoon no matter how this plays out.
You know, I talked about how Russ Tuttle worked personal security for Dale Earnhardt at the Brickyard. Russ told me that when he told Earnhardt that he wanted to race, Earnhardt said, no, don't do that. Don't do it. But Russ couldn't be talked out of it, so he drove one of those Legends cars that we see all around the country.
Sure.
And he just went from there, and he didn't start driving really till 1995.
Nice guy, a lot of fun to be around. Adds a lot to the series, and we're glad to see him putting in a good run today. There's your second place car, the 9 of defending national champion Tim Sauter, the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. Riding third, the 98 Series champion in car number 7, the Wynn Chevrolet, Gary St. Amant. The driver who was leading before that last caution, Tristan Dupuy. Another tough break for the Go-Go Pontiac Go-Go Auto Parts driver. He's standing by with Bob Dillner.
Rick, you and Steve talked about patience being a premium here at Toledo. Tell me what happened up there, because you thought it was a lack of patience that caused that.
Well, Bob, I just cannot believe that the bad racing luck for me continues. Here's another race, and we're sitting here in the pits. You know, this ASA racing demands a lot of patience. And, you know, when it's 100 laps to go or 150 laps to go, guys got to take it easy and, you know, have some courtesy. All I knew, I assumed the lead on the restart there. And after a lap or two, I went down in turn 1, had really no word from my spotter. And all of a sudden I got turned around. And I just really hated for the Freshetta Pizza, Meyer Stores, Edie's Ice Cream Pontiac. I absolutely cannot believe that the bad racing luck continues.
Tristan is trying to get this car back out on the track.
They will have their work cut out for them. Watching the 3 leaders go by, we take a look a little further back in the field. Butch Miller in the 52 riding in 6th position. Learned about Butch a few moments ago. Directly in front of him, the 88 of Mike Eddy. Eddy and Miller, 2 guys who've certainly tangled hundreds of times on ASA racetracks coast to coast. Mike Eddy from 19th starting spot to 5th. And Steve, we thought Eddy might be able to get up there and really contend this afternoon, but he's gone about as far as he's been able to go so far. Hasn't really been able to gain ground on the leaders.
Yeah, he's given that car a good ride, though. But you look at, you talked about how great Butch Miller and Mike Eddy there. Butch in the 52, Mike in the 88. We're looking at about 117 wins between those 2 guys in ASA. Butch has 40, Mike has 57. No, that's 97. I wasn't good at math.
Your second attempted addition was correct.
Golly, 97 wins. That's still impressive.
Jack Landis in the 07, who was involved in that incident with Dupuy a few moments ago, is 10th. There you see Ricky Johnson in the 22 car running 11th. And Brandon Sperling and Denny Crookston's Chevrolet, the 40. The unsponsored red and black machine running in 12th. Another good outing for that team. Not as fast as they've been at other racetracks in recent weeks, but their luck has been much better. Sperling's managed to keep that car clean and out of trouble. The 4 of Glenn Allen Jr. runs in 7th spot. Mike Miller in the 18 back in 9th. The 23 of Rick Beebe shown in 8th right now, and that's amazing. They've had their problems. Battle for the lead on the front stretch. Tim Sauter to the inside of Russ Tuttle wants the top spot and has it. Tuttle's going to get freight train back to 3rd. Spin up in turn 4, though. Paul Dallenbach goes around in the Ostrite Ford, the 67 car. Dallenbach gets it pointed in the right direction and refired under caution for the 8th time today. That may put Tuttle back at the point. We'll have to see.
Now, we were talking about patience or lack thereof. Tristan Dupuis very upset with Jack Landis. But see, Russ Tuttle did the smart thing there. He knew that Sauter was faster. He knew that St. Amant was faster. So let me give them a little room. Let them get by. What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm 3rd.
Yeah.
That's patience.
Exactly. And there's a lot of racing yet to come. 103 laps remaining. We'll show you how that pass for the lead took place as they race up off the corner. Tuttle bobbled a little between 3 and 4, enough to lose the momentum and give Sauter a run down the inside of the racetrack.
But look how smart Russ is there. He stays to the outside. He knows that Sauter and St. Amant have momentum. Let him go.
And it's one of those things with a driver who's not used to running up front. Glenn Allen Jr. and Dallenbach got together. That's what turned the 67 around. Looked like Glenn, oh boy, did he just sneak by on the inside. Great driving by Glenn Allen to stay out of trouble, but he did help Dallenbach around, no doubt about it. Watching Russ Tuttle, and we never like to say we're rooting for anyone, but Russ is such a good guy, and he's become a friend of ours. We were certainly pulling for him to do well here today, as we do every week, as we do with all these drivers. Tuttle leading, and you had to think, Steve, that without a lot of experience at the head of a pack like this, would he be able to hang on? Maybe he pushed it a little too hard up between turns 3 and 4 there and wiggled the car just enough to lose that momentum.
Maybe he did, Rick. But you know, his best finish this year has been an 8th at Lanier, way back the 2nd race of the year. The last couple of weeks, he was 18th at I-70, 33rd at Chicago, 21st at Salem. So, man, he's itching to get a top 5. That's what he wants.
He'll restart 3rd here, coming up on 100 to go at Toledo today. Trouble for Carroll Adamy's machine, very slow. He moves down onto the inside, onto pit road. Tim Sauter is your restart leader. Gary St. Amant is 2nd. Tuttle is 3rd. 4th spot to Kevin Sawinski, several car lengths back, and Mike Eddy will restart 5th. And Butch Miller, Glenn Allen, Rick Beebe, Mike Miller, and Ricky Johnson, your top 10.
One thing about Russ Tuttle, he's not afraid.
No. He's not at all.
A lifetime law enforcement officer. You know, he's one of the strongest guys I've ever met, too. I tell you what, he's pretty stout.
I think he'd give you a run for your money in the weight room.
Well, maybe so. I know he would, but I don't know that I'd challenge Russ.
Tim Sauter, your leader, making his 83rd career start in American Speed Association action today, looking for his 6th career victory. But look at that percentage of top 5s. Almost a third of Tim's starts have ended up with top 5s. And he, of course, the defending ASA AC-Delco Series national champion. But he's got the 98 champ, Gary St. Amant, knocking on the door. As we cross the 200 lap mark here at Toledo, 98 trips to go, and there's Tuttle riding 3rd. Steve, if Russ Tuttle's going to go to school today on how to drive one of these cars effectively, you couldn't follow 2 better drivers than Sauter and St. Amant.
I was noticing Russ going between turns 3 and 4 behind St. Amant. He's riding about a half a groove higher, Rick. So maybe he can't get that number 16 car down as close to the bottom as the other guys. See, he watches that just a bit there. St. Amant and Sauter glued more to the bottom of the racetrack.
Might have just a little bit of push in the middle of the corner there. Just enough to kick the car up, and there it is again off 2. You see Tuttle going higher earlier as they come up onto the backstretch. Take a look back at the pack. Ricky Johnson and Brandon Sperling duking it out for 10th. Johnson in the Herzog number 22 car there, the Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet. And Sperling and Denny Crookston's machine to the inside wants 10th. So Sperling, who was 12th a few moments ago, has gotten going. And he moves inside of Johnson as they come up onto the back straightaway. Give Brandon Sperling 10th position.
Brandon's looking real strong, Rick. In 05, Wimmer comes with him. Ricky Johnson looks like he's gotten loose all of a sudden.
Wimmer had been up in the top 10 solidly in the first 120 laps or so. He's backpedaled since then, but now starting to perhaps come on a little bit and make an effort to get back into the top 10 as we work into the final. And a spin. Ricky John, that's Alec Pinsino in the 93. He and Brandon Sperling had a little bit of contact there. Pinsino down onto the grass, back up onto the racetrack. Will stay green for now. So Pinsino with a nice job of driving to keep from losing it completely. The grass is so wet here. I thought when he went down onto the infield, that was it, that he'd come bouncing back up onto the racetrack.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be Calamity Corner for sure, but everybody got it pointed in the right direction.
The 93 of Pincinot, his first start in quite a while, 35th on the board today with a driver out of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. There's Jack Landis in the No Yoder Ford. We'll show it to you one more time up between turns 3 and 4. Sperling in the 40 going to the outside of the 93, and for whatever reason, Pincinot just lost it. Bobbled onto the grass, got it pointed up onto the racetrack, and climbed back up onto the banking without any problem. So good job of driving there for the veteran from Canada.
And as you said earlier, Rick, he's the car owner for Tim Sauter. Tim Sauter told me at Chicago, he said, Alec Pincinot is the greatest guy I've ever driven for. I mean, he just thinks the world of Pincinot. And, you know, he's had some offers to go elsewhere, but he remains loyal to Alec Pincinot.
Russ Tuttle in the Conseco Pontiac hanging on to third ahead of Kevin Zawinski in the Lefebvre Chevrolet, the 21 there. Zawinski working Tuttle over pretty thoroughly. This is the 1997 ASA National Champion, Zawinski. So Tuttle finds himself the inexperienced guy in a sandwich of 3 former champions at the moment.
Yeah, how about that? 3 champions going by. Yeah, that's pretty strong, but Russ is doing a good job.
Zawinski makes his 62nd career ASA start today with 7 wins, 3 poles. And how about the 24 top 5s? More than a third of his starts have ended up in the top 5. So Zawinski really a good chauffeur in these cars, and he's going to go to the inside of Russ Tuttle. Russ had an opportunity there to pick off the 21 on Paul Dallenbach, but he didn't take advantage of it.
He could have pinched Zawinski down and ran him into the 67, but again, you know, I'm really impressed with the job Russ is doing because it shows patience. You know, he's running that car for all it's worth, but he's not over his head.
Tuttle making a rare start for him. Not a rare start. He's been a regular now for 2 years, but very inexperienced, making probably his 31st career ASA start today. Look at who he's got behind him now. We talked about the champions. How about Mike Eddy with 7 and Butch Miller with 3 more coming up on the back of the 16 car.
Well, he's surrounded by champions. I guess if someone is going to go by you, better a champion.
Exactly, but Tuttle giving him plenty to think about. With 85 laps to go, he's still close to Zawinski, who's 3rd. Tuttle now rides 4th in the Conseco Pontiac, moving by Dennis Lampman on the outside of the 19 car. Eddy trying to hold off Butch Miller. Tuttle has taken advantage to open up a couple of car lengths again on the Polar Bear and the eWeb21.com Chevrolet. Zawinski right there with Tuttle directly behind him. So Russ certainly hasn't given up thoughts of holding on or getting back to 3rd spot here today. Back up front, though, there's Gary St. Amant. Your leader is Tim Sauter in the 9. They're running 1 and 2. And Sauter's got a couple of lap cars between he and St. Amant, working around the outside of the 07 of Jack Landis. 83 trips to go at Toledo. Back with more in a moment. Welcome back live to Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio. The Glass City 300 today. The American Speed Association on TNN Sports. You're on board with Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet down into turn 1. Ricky Johnson directly in front of him. Garvey had problems early. He's back in 30th spot. Run up front of the first 50 or 75 laps today, but had to go to pit road for a long stop. Your leader, Tim Sauter, who's really been the dominant car here this afternoon. Sauter back in front ahead of Kevin Zawinski, moving up on the back end of the 44 of Mark Dismore. Trouble on the racetrack. 3 cars involved up between turns 1 and 2. We were talking about what a good run Brandon Sperling had going. He has wrecked hard in the 40 car. Larry Foyt involved as well. And Joey Clinton and Steve Dale's Pontiac, the 83. Caution again for the 9th time this afternoon on lap 227. And trouble indeed. Tough break for Denny Crookston and his team. Sperling got into that one and just tore the nose off that 40 car. He was running up in 10th spot, Steve Burns, before that incident.
Bad break for that race team. You know, Brandon Sperling's team is located, you mentioned Denny Crookston, up in Michigan. Denny Crookston's guys, they don't have the funding to do it. They're hanging on by a thread. They didn't want to wreck race cars. And there's Brandon going over to Clinton. Oh, he's not happy.
Thinks Joey Clinton perhaps was the cause of that one. Brandon Sperling, who is a strong young man, unhappy indeed with Joey Clinton's driving style down there. We'll try to get another look at it. Track safety workers cooling Sperling off, separating him. Brandon saying, come on.
Brandon's been under a lot of pressure, Rick.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure to try and keep that car up front. And I hope these guys can settle this calmly. Because
exactly.
They're both, emotions are hot. You know, they're running for position.
Yeah. A lot at stake.
And there's Larry
Foyt. lot of finger pointing going on. We'll try to get you another look at the incident there. A lot of drivers, we talked about Joey Clanton earlier, and a lot of guys have talked to him about being patient, being calm. They know he's quick. They know he's got a fast race car, and they think that at times perhaps he hasn't used the best judgment. We'll take another look at it from up in the middle. We're looking back at turn 2. Clanton, it looked like, had gotten into the 14 car, Sperling the 3rd car on the scene. Looked like Scott Frazier was involved down low there with John Silverthorne, excuse me. Take a look from Clanton's onboard view up on the roof camera inside Larry Foyt. Foyt got down low, took Clanton up into the wall from that view.
I think what happened there was he had the 14 under him, the 40 on top of him, and he went through the middle. 3 wide through the corners isn't going to work here. Tough break for Brandon Sperling. Your heart breaks for a guy like that that's hanging on.
Sure does, sure does. A lot of damage to the 3 race cars up in turn 1 from that onboard view. We saw Larry Foyt drop down onto the grass, and then that kicked him back up onto the racetrack and into Clanton's car, sending Clanton to the wall, and Sperling just had nowhere to go. A lot of the cars on the track going on a pit road to try to get one final stop in. We have passed the 230 lap mark, 70 to go. 3 drivers who are extremely unhappy, and all the wreckers headed to that part of the racetrack. John Silverthorne's 08 spun down on the inside and collected the inside retaining wall, so his car suffered some damage too. And we saw the 00 of Scott Frazier, who had led a few laps earlier, bouncing down through the grass there. Frazier's back up on the racetrack. We can get a look at his car perhaps. He's up onto the backstretch now, but he's got body damage on the back end of that Monte Carlo. So the Steve Dale car, the 83 of Clanton, going up on the hook. Heavy damage to that machine. He'll be done for the afternoon, no doubt.
Rick, I'll be honest. You know, you saw Brandon Sperling, Joey Clanton, those guys exchanging words. Personally, I don't mind seeing emotion.
No.
I mean, it means you care.
Sure.
Now, you know, calmer heads prevailed. Brandon, you know, finally sat up on the wall and collected his thoughts, tried to collect his emotions. As I said, there's a lot of pressure on these guys. You know, Clanton, Foyt, Sperling are all young guys trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
And there's 3 race cars torn up.
And Clanton's car and Sperling's car basically unsponsored. Steve Dale Motorsports searching for a sponsor. Brandon Sperling, Denny Crookston's team, they've been looking for help all year, as we have documented for you several times. Let's take another look at it here from Joey Clanton's machine. We'll slow it down a little bit, see if we can get a better look. On board the top of the 83 car, drawn up on the outside, that's Larry Foyt in the purple Harris Pontiac down low.
And you see right there in the corner, you saw the left front corner of that 40 car. Larry, he nudged him down. Larry came right back up into him, then all 3 of them into the wall.
Hard, too. That was not an easy hit by any means. All 3 cars apparently have dropped fluid on the racetrack, so there's speedy dry down there. There's Brandon Sperling watching things from the banking. He'll come across the racetrack. I think the 3 drivers have said all they care to say for the moment now. John Silverthorne's car will get pushed up onto the racetrack and out of the way.
And Brandon Sperling told me, there's another look. Now watch to the right-hand side of your screen. There you see that BFG? Yeah. That's Sperling's car right there. Then a bump to Foyt in the 14. He gets down on that grass. Where's he going to go, Rick?
He's going to get turned right back up on the racetrack.
Yeah, he gets shot up right through that wet grass. You know, Brandon Sperling told me he's had to drive conservatively this year. He can't go out there with reckless abandon because they can't afford to fix race cars.
Sure.
They just don't have the personnel to do it.
Yeah. Although I think in that case, without seeing it from a high view where we could have seen all 3 cars, if Brandon tried to go 3 wide in there, going into turn 1 at Toledo, I'm not sure that's the place you'd pick to do that.
Looked like Larry Foyt was trying to get out of the way on the low side. So, I don't know. You know, I'm not going to point fingers because I don't drive race cars, but 3 wide isn't going to work regardless of what happens.
Sperling gets the ride back to the infield on one of the track safety vehicles. Larry Foyt's car will go out on the hook, and we are under caution. 68 trips remain here at Toledo Speedway. We'll be back on TNN. Back here live at Toledo Speedway, Toledo, Ohio, the Glass City 300 for the American Speed Association today, under caution for the 9th time this afternoon. Friday night on TNN, the hits keep right on coming. Tables and chairs and much more go flying. Some good guys and some bad guys will be going at it as well on ECW Wrestling. Find out what happens next Friday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific on ECW Wrestling, a part of TNN's Thrill Zone Friday. You are there.
Oh, Rick, I saw an epic match the other night. Balls Mahoney from Nutley, New Jersey against Rob Van Dam. Oh, Balls was just...
Was he?
Oh, he was...
The Van Dams tear it up.
Yeah, well, you know. Balls Mahoney from Nutley, New Jersey. What more can you say?
You're spending too much time in front of the television, I think. Brandon Sperling's 40 car up on the rollback. Severe damage there. When they have to bring the rollback out, that is a problem. Professional Track Services crew out working up in turns 1 and 2 to get the moisture cleaned up so we can go racing and finish this thing up. Bob Dillner, some of the leaders have been on pit road. What's the strategy?
Well, the call down here when they made pit stops was right side tires. Tim Sauter came down, changed right sides, no changes. Kevin Sawinski, his crew chief Brian Dantine, told me whatever the leaders would do, they would do. They also came in to change right side tires. Interesting strategy though, Rick. Gary St. Amant and Mike Eddy staying out there right now. They are looking for track position, but those guys further back in the pack, they will have fresh tires. Should be interesting at the end of this race.
Certainly will, because we're coming up on 60 to go here in a moment. It's going to be another moment or two before the cars are all removed and the speedy dry is cleaned up between turns 1 and 2. We had heard earlier that Tim Sauter might make one more stop for right sides, and they accomplished that during this caution, so they got the break they needed. Steve, track position, it won't be much, really. We're only talking about a straightaway, but Gary St. Amant, Mike Eddy, and Russ Tuttle will restart as the top 3 cars now. And I think it may give Eddy particularly a shot here.
Yeah, it will. He's second right now, and he wants some of that Scott Hansen magic from last week. Good medicine. You're running like a dog, and you come back and win. Everybody feels better about the team.
Find the fountain of youth. That's what they're looking for here. Gary St. Amant will be your restart leader. Restarting 5th will be Scott Frazier, driver who just impressed everybody so much at Chicago Motor Speedway a couple of weeks ago. This is his second ASA start in that basically unsponsored 00 Chevrolet all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada. A long haul. Steve mentioned more than 20 hours to get to Chicago. Probably a little less than that to get here. Now, Frazier suffered some damage in that incident up in turn 1. He and John Silverthorne tangled. The back bodywork of the car badly torn, but Frazier to restart 5th. He'll obviously stay on the racetrack, not come in, not have that bodywork removed. They're going to take a chance that nothing will fall off that car and cause another caution or a black flag for the 00.
Yeah, and he's got nothing to lose. He's not running for points, so yeah, let's take a gamble. Running in 5th position, but he's lucky though, Rick. I saw him spinning with Silverthorne there at the bottom of the screen when Clanton Pyle and
Larry Foyt,
thank you, got into it. So yeah, he's lucky right now.
Safety crew taking a look at things here on the front stretch as well. There's Frazier riding in front of Mike Garvey, the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Garvey with a tough outing. His bad luck returning here today. Garvey has been so fast at so many tracks we've been to this year, but trouble early today for Garvey, who has a couple of wins under his belt already this year, and he is not a contender. Back downstairs, Bob Dillner with one of the drivers involved in that incident up in turn 2.
Joey Clanton, a very heated discussion between you and Brandon Sperling. Tell us what happened.
Run up on the lap car, and I got up under Brandon off of turn 4, and looked like Foyt was going to move down and get out of the way, and he started down, and I went for the hole not to get blocked in. Racing there, I was trying to catch wind. They were listing us a lap down, but by our scorecards and all, we was only 1 lap down when we lost that lap, and we'd made it back up, and we was going to protest that after the race. We was running like we was on the lead lap, and racing out there trying to catch Scott and them, and got under the 40, and I pushed it in there with a few laps to go here, 50 so laps to go, and just my mistake, and we'll go on next week.
Tempers can flare in racing. What did Brandon say to you?
It was just heat. I mean, just tempers flaring, hot out there. It's expected.
Plenty of emotion, a young driver of whom much is expected here in the American Speed Association in the weeks and months to come. We should be about ready to get going here. We will have 61 trips remaining, 60 to go when they come over the start-finish line. Pace car ducks into the back of the infield. And the leader for the restart will be Gary St. Amant. And Steve Burns has been in this position many, many times before, probably with Mike Eddy breathing down his neck as he is right now. Be interesting to see what St. Amant might have up his sleeve here in the final 60 laps. Eddy second, Russ Tuttle restarts 3rd, Rick Beebe restarts 4th. Scott Frazier and then Tim Sauter, who's been the dominant car in the 9. He's taken on fresh right side tires. He's got Kevin Sawinski with him, but it's St. Amant and Eddy right now down the back straightaway. There's Frazier the 00, and Eddy trying to close in on St. Amant as we work toward 50 to go.
Gary St. Amant's been a regular racer on this series since 1986. 247 career starts. If anybody can hold off a charging polar bear, it's Gary St. Amant.
00, Frazier trying to get to the outside, but we're hearing that he might have a tire rubbing, that bodywork flapping, and Mike Miller's got problems. Miller's stopping on the racetrack. He's got front end damage. He apparently got into someone or someone got into him. So the caution will fly once again for Mike Miller, the veteran from Georgia. Tough break indeed for the driver of the JaniKing Pontiac. Miller will stop on the speedway and the safety car will come back out, and Mike will restart the car, and don't know if perhaps that might have been a way for the caution to fly or not. Mike is a cagey veteran. We'll just leave it at that.
You're not saying he did that intentionally, are you?
Well, in some circles in racing, they call that playing possum. Now, I don't know if Mike's a possum hunter in his old days, but he certainly suffered a lot of damage.
Yeah.
That is enough to bring out the yellow, no doubt about it.
And, you know, Mike came in here third in the points, you know, so he's got to get that thing fixed and get back out there, Rick.
You know the story, if you were with us a year ago, came ever so close to winning his first ever national championship. Second by 6 points to Tim Sauter, the outcome in doubt right up till the season finale last year at Orange County Speedway in North Carolina. Things just didn't go Mike's way. He was extremely frustrated, said he hadn't gotten over it yet when the new season started. Third in the points with one win so far this year, but they haven't been as dominant a team as they had been much of the way last year. Carl Hyland and the crew take the hood off the car. They'll take a look at that GM Vortec power plant, try to make sure all the plumbing is in place, get Mike back out for the final 60 laps or so here this afternoon at Toledo Speedway. But the caution is still out. Now we're told that we'll have one to go till green. This will be a very short caution as we watch Carl Hyland and the crew do that work on the right front corner of Miller's machine. Don't know what that caused or what caused that incident and why Miller brought the car to pit road, but there was certainly heavy body damage. Now they're going to have to jack the car up on the right side and go to work and try to straighten things out enough to make the car drivable. So Miller will lose another lap here, it appears. They've got one of the body bending, looks like a mandrel in there to try to wrench some things off and get some of the bracing pulled away from the motor and the right front corner of the car so that Mike will be able to drive it. Mike much calmer after that incident at Lakeland at the start of the season, Steve, where his temper got the better of him again. He said, hey, I'm going to try to approach this differently.
He apologized.
For the rest of the season, he did apologize, and it was a very classy thing to do. And Mike just sitting there kind of taking it all in, but he will miss this restart. Gary St. Amand, your restart leader. 55 trips to go here at Toledo. Mike Eddy goes second. Russ Tuttle, Rick Beebe, and Scott Frazier, the top five. And here comes Tim Sauter to the inside of the 00. Sauter wants fifth spot back. Now remember, Tim's got fresher tires than the rest of the leaders in that 9 car. St. Amand is in command.
Mike Eddy right behind him, ran his first ASA race, 1973.
It was only a few weeks ago, wasn't it?
430 starts for the Polar Bear.
That's a lot of racing. St. Amand and Eddy running 1 and 2 in front of Russ Tuttle. Bob Dillner downstairs with one of the other drivers involved in that most recent incident in turn 2.
Brandon Sperling involved in that incident with Joey Clanton. I spoke to Joey. He said he was going for a hole and it closed up. What do you think?
First of all, I'd like to apologize to the fans for losing my cool out there. Just we've had such bad luck lately, and you know, we can't catch a break. I was being conservative out there and just trying to come up with a decent finish. We weren't trying to win the thing. I mean, our car wasn't that great. We were you know, right there we were 2 wide, and Joey made it 3 wide in a place you don't need to be 3 wide, and we were unfortunate that happened, and we went in the wall hard. So
you've had financial difficulties with this team. You have a bent-up race car. Will you make it to Jennerstown?
It doesn't look real good right now. This is the last thing we needed. We were just stretching it and getting by, you know. So we'll have to see. I don't know how bad the damage is right now. We'll wait and see, and then we'll make our decision early in the week.
Hope to see the team at Jennerstown. Steve, you were with me a couple of weeks ago on Saturday at Chicago Motor Speedway when Sperling killed that race car by piloting it into the turn 2 wall during qualifying. They totally rebuilt the machine, got him back on the racetrack. Salem, they damaged the car some, and then a hard wreck here today.
Classy move by Brandon to apologize, but he's got nothing to apologize for.
No.
I mean, that's just tempers. Like we said, the adrenaline's flowing. They're running for a win. You know, they've got all that pressure. Classy move, but Brandon doesn't need to apologize.
47 to go at Toledo. The race still in the hands of Gary St. Amand. This is the battle for third. Russ Tuttle has the spot in the 16. Rick Beebe is 4th in the 23. And Tim Sauter, who's led more than 100 laps today, is 5th in the 9 car. and Sauter has been unable to get around Beebe to this point. Tuttle doing a great job holding those two at bay. Now Sauter will try the high side off of 2. Last trip around, you saw him get right up under the back bumper of Beebe. Shows you what a great race car driver he is, able to get there and not touch Beebe's machine. Oh, he touches him that time, though. Kicks the 23 sideways. Beebe stays on the gas and holds down the spot.
Rick, I was just about to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. He's looking on the high side. He's looking on the low side. He thinks he's faster than Beebe in the 23. He just can't figure out where to make the move.
Sauter trying high again, slips up the racetrack, and David Stremme gets sideways in the 27 car, Robert Hamke's machine. Stremme, an Indiana late model veteran, wrecked early last week at Salem. This is second start for Hamke, and he is off the gas and off the pace. Sawinski will go by. Glenn Allen will go by. They are running 6th and 7th right now. Here's Sauter still trying on the inside of the 23 of Beebe. Mike Miller, you saw the 18 back on the track with the damaged body parts removed. Sauter dips down inside of Beebe onto the backstretch and has the spot. So give Sauter 5th or make it 4th away from Beebe. Sauter with 40 laps to go coming up has got time. He needs some help though. Russ Tuttle directly in front, next in line, running 3rd in the Conseco Pontiac, the green 16.
And he draws up on Tuttle. You know, he just had to get by Beebe. I think he's going to have a little easier time, not because of Russ. I just think the car's that much better.
Now if Tuttle can just hang on, we saw him bobble a couple of times. He gives room on the inside, pushes up the racetrack, gives Sauter all the room he needs. And Timmy goes by and into 3rd. So drop Tuttle back a spot to 4th, Sauter to 3rd.
And Russ can get back into his rhythm now. And see, he's pulling right up on the back of Sauter. He's got a great car himself. But as you said, Rick, move up the racetrack. Give him a little room. That's the courteous thing to do.
And I think Tuttle knows that if he pushes too hard, the push that the race car has gets even more pronounced.
Absolutely.
And it'll walk up the racetrack on him, and he doesn't want to see that. So
Absolutely.
Tuttle hangs on in 4th, tucking in now behind Sauter. The battle up front, St. Amant and Eddie. St. Amant, we'll show you that in a moment, about 6 or 7 car lengths ahead of the 88. There's Tuttle riding in 4th spot now. 39 laps remaining here at Toledo.
Rick Beebe's had some tough luck of late in that white number 23. Great to see him having a good run. Rick in 5th position.
Watching Rick Beebe. Mike Miller brings the JaniKing Pontiac back to pit road. Bob Diller, what are they saying down there?
Well, they have an overheating problem right now, Rick. Mike said he just ran into somebody when they stopped on the racetrack. They brought the car back down to pit road. They pulled the body off the radiator, but the car is still running hot. You can see the sleeve actually for the airbox disconnected from the radiator, so that car is going to run hot probably for the rest of the race.
Mike definitely running for points though, so he wants to get back out of the racetrack, get as many laps on the board today as he can. Watching Gary St. Amant now, who has pulled away from Mike Eddy. So St. Amant going for another win this season. The winner at Lakeland earlier, the national championship point leader. Battle here for 5th spot, a tight one. Kevin Sawinski, Glenn Allen Jr., Rick Beebe, and Butch Miller. Sawinski has 5th. Beebe is 6th, or was anyway. Allen has gotten by him for that spot now. And Butch Miller back in 8th as they shuffle it up in the final 40 laps. Now Miller to the inside of Beebe. Handling on the 23 car, Steve, seems to have gone away. Interesting if we can find out when he stopped last for tires, because he's showing signs of not having fresh rubber. Now look at Sauter move up on Mike Eddy for 2nd.
And he looks like he wants that bottom side of the racetrack from Mike Eddy.
You'll see here how badly Mike Eddy wants it. How wide can he make that 88 car? Coming up on 30 to go. Paul Dallenbach's lap machine, the Osterite Ford, the 67, moving up high, letting the leaders go. Sauter so far unable to do anything with Eddy.
And St. Amant continues to have a big lead as those two guys try to work each other over. And let's face it, Eddie's working hard to keep Sauter behind him.
Eddy now will use the 81 car as a pick. That's Dave Doran's machine. It's been rented for the weekend.
Oh,
Mark Cole from Evansville, Indiana, driving the car as we watch Sauter just take advantage of the hole that Eddy opened up. Sauter has whistled by into 2nd. There's your leader, Gary St. Amant. Sauter is on the charge. Less than 30 remaining at Toledo. Gary St. Amant, your leader, but he's got trouble right behind. Welcome back live to Toledo Speedway. Gary St. Amant is your leader as the laps wind down here in the Glass City 300. Tim Sauter is flying, though, in car number 9. Sauter, the 99 ASA champion, with a couple of wins already this season, wants the lead in the victory here today. St. Amant wants his 2nd win of the year, trying to hold Sauter at bay. 24 laps remain as they hit turn 1. Steve Burns at 9 cars flying.
I guess that pit strategy paid off. He's got a little bit fresher tires, gave up track position, but boy, he is on a mission, and he has hunted down Gary St. Amant.
Sauter, the winner at I-70 earlier this year, also the winner at Nashville, poking the nose of the 9 car to the inside of St. Amant, wasting no time at all. Sauter back to the lead. He has led 159 laps today of the 278 we've run. He's about to put 160 in his personal lead column today. Sauter on rails, Bob Dillner, and he has been the dominant car. His team's got to be happy with the drive he's turning in here this afternoon.
He is driving with reckless abandon. And an interesting note on Tim Sauter, he has had 3 spotters today. His original spotter had to catch a plane, so he left and went back to Charlotte. Alec Pinsonneau, his car owner, when he came in, he started spotting for him. We have a wreck or a caution on the track right now,
We
Rick.
sure do. Trouble for Russ Tuttle up in turn 3. Tuttle, who is so strong, was running up in the top 4. He had backpedaled severely back to 12th, has spun up in turn 4, refires the Conseco Pontiac, wants to get it back up on the racetrack, and he's stuck in the mud. 2nd time this year that Russ has been stuck in the mud like that. You're with us back at Louisville. Same thing happened. It had rained there a lot. He bounced down into the infield on the backstretch. This not as severe, but we'll see if Russ might have had a little assistance going around. Rick Beebe to the inside of the 16 car.
Whoa.
Sure enough, hard contact turns Tuttle around. Russ jumps on the brakes, but can't keep the car up on the racetrack and slips off down into the grass.
Boy, Rick Beebe in the 23 went in there hard and fast and got into the side, and Russ, whew. Boy.
That is a tough break, and you know Tuttle is one frustrated guy. He's going to get a push from the Jeep down there, but Tuttle unable to get that car up on the racetrack. It looked like he had it stopped up on the apron, and then somehow it slid back onto the grass. 19 left, and Tim Sauter's in command at Toledo. We've just restarted him here at Toledo Speedway, the Glass City 300, presented by JaniKing, the ASA AC-Delco Series, live on TNN Sports today. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns alongside. Bob Dillner patrolling pit road for us here today. There's your leader, the 9 of Tim Sauter with 15 to go. Gary St. Amant is 2nd in the yellow number 7. 3rd spot right now is Mike Eddy in the 88, his best run in a long time. And Kevin Sawinski rides 4th in the 21. Tough break for Russ Tuttle, who brought out the yellow after contact by Rick Beebe. Tuttle back in 13th spot. Sawinski wants 3rd as they lap by Buddy Gainey's machine down the back straightaway. Kevin Sawinski to the outside of the 88 car off that corner. And he able to hang on to the spot right now. 5th spot belongs to Glenn Allen Jr. in the Good Wrench Pontiac.
Rick, you got 4 champions running 1st through 4th right there. It doesn't get any better than that. 4 champions.
Sure doesn't. This is the battle for 3rd between Eddy and Sawinski. Eddy with 7 ASA National Championships. Sawinski with 1 under his belt. Glenn Allen still looking for his 1st. And how about Butch Miller with 3 ASA titles to his credit. Coming up on 10 to go. The 2 leaders have waved goodbye to this battle. And Tim Sauter has this one well in hand.
And Glenn Allen Jr. there in the 4 car almost won a championship. He finished 2nd, I believe, in 95, Rick.
Since coming back to the series a couple of weeks ago, he has been very strong. Last week at Salem, a good run for Glenn Allen. I believe a 4th place finish there, and he won the ride for the rest of the year. But Gavin telling him, you've got it. Oh, Eddy gets turned a little sideways off of 4. Sawinski gets inside him. Sawinski will get the spot, and Eddy will get freight train. Mike Eddy loses 2, maybe 3. Butch Miller to the inside of the 88 car. I was just about to tell you that Eddy was in line for perhaps his best finish of the year. Forget that. Eddy has just gotten shuffled back to 8th. Butch Miller gets by him to gain a spot to 6th.
That's how hungry those guys are, too,
yeah.
man. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. All 3 of them, as you said, went by Mike Eddy in the 88.
So Butch Miller in the 52 now 5th. We'll reset the running order for you. Give Eddy 6th and Rick Beebe 7th as we are inside 10 laps to go. If you're wondering where Mike Garvey is, a couple of wins under his belt this season. 2nd last week at Salem. Garvey is parked at Tecumseh Chevrolet for the day. All the drivers behind him were already out of the race. Garvey was 30 laps behind the driver in front of him in the standings, Mike Miller, so Garvey will take a 25th and get ready for Jennerstown next week. Sawinski in the 21 rides in third. There are your top two. The 9, the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet of Tim Sauter, the 7 of Gary St. Amant. Taking a look at Glenn Allen Jr. running fourth, and Butch Miller is fifth. And Butch with designs on fourth spot here with coming up on 5 laps to go.
Glenn Allen Jr. doing a great job since coming back here from the NASCAR Busch Series. Oh, Butch Miller all over the back of him, Rick.
Been a lot of use of the fiberglass horn here today at Toledo Speedway, which a lot of the drivers expected coming in.
Scott Hansen predicted it. So we're going to see a lot of bumpers in action today.
So Glenn Allen and Butch Miller battle for the spot. Allen holding on to fourth right now. 3 laps to go next time around for your leader, who remains Tim Sauter.
Glenn Allen Jr. there in the 4 car was 11th at Chicago, 5th last week at Salem. So tell you what, he's moving right up.
Getting the feel of these race cars with the new radial tires from BF Goodrich and the new GM Vortec 5700 motors. Good, smooth, young chauffeur.
Glenn Allen Jr. made 107 starts in the NASCAR Busch Series, had several top 5s, but you know, he's one of those guys like Sawinski. He wants to be in a competitive ride. He's an ASA.
And as he said to us a couple of weeks ago, hey, you can make a good living here in the American Speed Association. Your leader's Tim Sauter. White flag will be in the air next time by. Sauter bidding for his 3rd victory of the season after winning Nashville and winning I-70. Another high-banked half-mile. Tim Sauter loves these racetracks, and he has been on rails here this afternoon. Final trip around. The battle raging. Sawinski now trying to hang on to 3rd. There's Sauter to the inside of Mike Cope in the 75 car to the checkered flag for the 3rd time this season. Our first 3-time winner, defending national champion Tim Sauter. Rest of the field under the flag. St. Amant is 2nd, Sawinski 3rd, Glenn Allen is 4th, Miller 5th, Mike Eddy is 6th, then Beebe, Scott Frazier with a nice 8th of the 00, Wimmer and Robbie Pyle, your top 10, and a very happy AP Performance crew down on pit road. So the checkered flag here at Toledo Speedway. Tim Sauter from the seat of Wisconsin, your winner today in the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet from AP Performance. Bob Dillner will talk to the winner in Victory Lane at Toledo in a moment. Today's TNN Sports coverage of the Glass City 300 has been brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. Back live at Toledo Speedway, the ASA AC-Delco Series in its return to the Glass City for the Glass City 300. A very happy Tim Sauter in Victory Lane for the 3rd time this season. To Bob Dillner.
All right, he is very happy, and this entire crew is very happy down here in Victory Lane. Tim, you survived and won the 48 hours of a rain-soaked Toledo.
Yeah, it sure was 48 hours, but for some reason I really felt like racing hard today. And I'm just super happy with the entire AP Performance, Build-A-Mold, Mold Plaz, Trim Plaz. All of our company people are here today, as many as could make it here. Alec Pinsino, Chevrolet, Vortec, the guys in the shop are just doing an awesome job.
And we have some audio problems on the racetrack with Tim Sauter and Bob Dillner, and we regret that we'll be unable to bring you the balance of Sauter's comments down there, at least as far as I understand at this point. We'll show you how the top 10 finished here today at Toledo Speedway. Sauter, your winner, St. Amant, and Kevin Sawinski round out the top 3. Good runs for Glenn Allen and Butch Miller, and Mike Eddy. Steve thought he had a top 3 going there, and comes back to get 6th after going up out of the groove. Russ Tuttle soldiers on to 14th after leading his first laps of the season. Good run for him. And how about David Stremme in 12th today? Good run for that young driver in his 2nd start.
Rick, at the very top of the day when we came on the air at 3 o'clock, and it was raining like heck. We talked about how the cream was rising to the top. Yeah. Now we're at the midway point, and boy, all those champions there in the top 10 shows again today.
Gary St. Amant with a 2nd place will protect his point lead, but Tim Sauter becomes the first driver to win 3 AC-Delco Series events in the 2000 season. Next Sunday afternoon, we'll be at Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania 300 at 1 o'clock Eastern. Of course, we'll be back with you at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific on TNN Race Day. We'll wrap up the Brickyard, preview the Jennerstown action and the IHRA, the Outlaws as well. Hope you can join us next Sunday for plenty more from Jennerstown. We congratulate Tim Sauter and the Alec Pinsino team for winning here at Toledo. For Steve Burns and Bob Dillner, I'm Rick Benjamin. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.